Good evening. Welcome to our Conservation Commission meeting here in beautiful Ayer. It is June 23rd, 2016. First order of our general business is to open our meeting with a pledge of allegiance to our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. Any changes or differences on the agenda?
Even if there were, I don't think I'd remember them.
Okay. Well, the first one is...
I don't think we've got anything. This is, you said to put this guy on at 7:15, but we've got...
Yep. No, I went there today, actually.
Oh.
So I got that one. 3 public hearings, and then we returned to Ridgeview and Rosewood and Riley Jane.
And then at the bottom, what's his name?
Stump grinding and pond bank retention.
I got a call to just, put them on the end for discussion. We were having a back and forth over the purpose of the stumps and the roots on the bank, and how much yard you could put over a cut stump. So if you grind, anyway, we can do that again.
And I brought in a draft violation for 25 Wright Road. Do you want? I thought we could put that on just to go over that.
No, that's great. That's great. We'll do that at the end.
Yeah.
Okay. So at 8:35, let's do our draft, and then we'll jump right into enforcement policy at 8:50, and then we'll do conservation administrator updates at 8:75. All right.
That's assuming that those times are anywhere near correct to begin with.
We're gonna fly. You watch. We all know the Wright Road story, although I didn't realize they were going to extend
No,
Wright
you
Road.
do not know the Wright Road story.
I know what that property is and have walked it multiple times.
Which one are you talking about?
This one.
Oh.
There's
Okay.
a story. He'll tell you.
All right.
No,
So,
you're talking about a different Wright Road. Never mind.
Pledge of Allegiance.
Right.
Okay, we've confirmed. So I would accept a motion to approve the agenda as noted.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Why don't we do meeting minutes? Because that should take just a second.
It took long minutes.
Did you?
It was a long meeting
Yes, it was.
and contentious.
Did anyone have any changes on the meeting minutes?
No, and I
Dr.
read
Sheep,
them an
any
hour ago.
comments?
I'm good.
Did we receive a copy of the notice from NHESP regarding the priority habitat for Riley Jane Farm?
Cal, as of 10 minutes ago, was still looking for it. It's
Okay.
in the office somewhere, and he can't lay his hands on it.
I just wanted to make sure it was coming.
So he should be, we're bringing it.
We could use a ceiling fan in this room. I'm just saying.
You've got a week. You want to sign off and approve it right now? We can donate it to the town on our behalf.
I don't know how you make one match. You have to have 3 of them. They'd have to be belt driven. Why do I feel like we already talked about Pine Ridge Road trash removal?
We have.
Little changes.
No, but I mean, we found out it was just the cap.
Right, at
Yeah.
this point, the only thing left to talk about is that it happened,
Okay,
and it was all donated, so it didn't cost us anything.
perfect.
And if you want to see pictures, I emailed them to the Mondo pad, and I'd learned how to use it, so we could
That's
actually.
what that's called?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why it's called a Mondo pad.
And use the expression excellent, and you can tell me what it means after. Okay. I have no changes. Anyone have any changes to the meeting minutes as so carefully drafted on 6/9/2016? I accept a motion to approve the meeting minutes as fabulously written from 6/9/2016.
So moved.
Second.
They are fabulous minutes.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you,
Especially
Jim.
since you didn't have to take them.
Oh, Lord, forget about it. Could not keep up with that.
You should hear Takashi's sigh every night when he doesn't do it.
I can just hear my wrist breaking just
Now I
watching
pay
your
her
hand.
Still
And
not
there you
informed. Yeah.
Do we have any announcements for tonight?
Yes. Let's go with these because they'll be relevant.
And do we have any accounts payable?
Yeah, those are the end.
Okay, well, we can fit them in right now if we do them so that we get them done. Notice of intent, convert Nashua Street extension, Frost, initiating the, okay. So the first is dated June 6th. It's from the Open Space and Recreation Plan Committee, Chairperson Ms. Sudemeyer. As you're aware, notice of intent to convert Nashua Street extension from forest use to residential use was submitted on May 24th by Attorney Gibbons on behalf of Calvin Moore, thereby initiating the 120-day period for the town to reconsider and act on its right of first refusal to acquire option. The Open Space and Recreation Plan Update Committee at our meeting on May 31st, 2016 voted unanimously to send the Board of Selectmen a letter to request that a prompt appraisal be done of the property. Requested to be complete by June 20th. A clear schedule to be made to ensure deadlines are met, and a review committee working group be created to make certain that a thorough and thoughtful process for evaluating the value of acquiring the property occurs and to recommend the actions to be taken. Respectfully request that the BOS convene a working group, and goes on to discuss the elements that make the property special. Does anyone know if the actual if it happened by the 20th? Yeah, it was the 20th. If the appraisal was done by the 20th?
I heard it was scheduled to take place. I don't know if it did though.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right, well, interestingly, Ayer Community Preservation Committee also drafted a memo on June 17th speaking of the same, but there's also nothing in here about an estimate. Okay, so as an update, that's an update. Obviously, it would be interesting to hear about the appraisal.
You can just start pulling one at a time.
Okay, thank you.
All right, first invoice is for Michigan Trees Revised. I assume this is a book.
Yep.
It's $19.95 with $6 in shipping for a total of $25.95. I would accept a motion to approve the purchase of this book.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Who's it get paid to?
That's to me.
Oh. This
For the record of anybody in the audience, it's the greatest field guide to trees I've ever found.
The next one is MACC Commission dues. It is in the amount of $270. It is not broken down by member, but I think we've run into this before, and if we're double booked, we're double booked. Just says add 60 for each member. It doesn't list the members. Are we sure that we're all covered?
Yep, we're on page purple here. Unless you want to change your phone numbers.
If it's wrong, I don't.
It might be right then.
That's perfect. It's not me. And I bet yours isn't either. We're all there. I would accept a motion to pay $270 to MACC for our annual dues.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pass that back to the second half. Pass to the next one, sir. Thank you. Next invoice is JNS Business Products. Ooh, the trucker hats. That's actually what it says. Plus logo embroidery for $95.88 for 6 hats with embroidery, as discussed during our last meeting.
$95 a month?
$95.88. I would accept a motion to pay said invoice 58298.
So moved.
Second for discussion.
Yes, sir.
Do we all have to wear them?
I believe it is a hat for your use.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Yes, you have to wear them during the meeting. It says it right on here. Next.
So these 3 MAC invoices, they won't ship things out until they receive, payment and all that. So these are theoreticals at this point. And what I did there is they offered this thing, and I got 500 of them for $100.
WPA guide packet of 100. It's actually 100 on here. Oh, 5 quantity. There you go. So it is a Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act. How it protects our wetlands, floodplains, and riverfront areas. What property owners need to know. And is it a trifold?
Quad, maybe.
Ooh. That's what it looks like. Don't even try. The total for the materials and shipping and handling is $116. I would accept a motion to pay MACC for these handouts.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
This is actually more money than I think we've spent in forever.
Oh, wait till you get to the end. It's starting small.
Next one is again for MACC. It
Same
is
thing.
the ESC Field Guide, Essential Resources for Conservation Commissions, Protecting Wetlands and Open Space, MACC's Environmental Handbook for Massachusetts Conservation Commissioners, 10th edition.
Specifically on there, it's actually the soils, the erosion control field guide.
Excellent. Okay. So
And I
this
got
is
you
the-
each a copy and one for the office.
Ooh, and you'll notice it's wire-bound flip. I would accept a motion to pay the MACC $158, which is $144 plus $14 in shipping.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ooh, that's for you. The next one is to MACC, not surprisingly. It is for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 books. Amphibians and Reptiles of New England, Bringing Nature Home, Fern Finder, A Guide to Native Ferns, A Guide to Common Freshwater Invertebrates of North America, Ferns Peterson's Field Guide, Fern Cards,
Yes, you can
Freshwater
write this all
Wetlands,
down.
Grass, Sedges, etc., Hydric Soils of New England, Naturally Curious, A Photographic Field Guide, Pond and Brook, Reading the Forested Landscape, Restoring Ecological Health to Your Land, Winter Tree Finder, Guide to Backyard Birds of Eastern North America, Butterfly Laminate, Dragonflies and Damselflies, Pond Watcher's Guide to Ponds. Total of $280.25 with a 10% member discount of $28.03 plus shipping and handling of $14.50 is $266.72. I would accept a motion to pay MACC $266.72 for all the books I just read off and that Jess noted.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next.
You're keeping track of our budget, right?
Yeah, we've got so much money
Okay.
left.
Next.
Oops, sorry.
You're slowing down.
Make sure I...
Next are, I'm guessing these are,
For the trail
Things that
signs,
you
it
paid
just went
for?
in. No, these are Steve. Right?
Steve Smith.
Right?
Oh, for the kiosk?
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
So it's $148.92. He says our portion is $105.16. How did he arrive at that?
I think he's just calling out individual items on the receipt.
I see. 2 24 by 36 maps and 2 11 by 17 trail head signs. It's $105.17. It's $105.16
To Steve Smith.
to Steve Smith, plus a bag of Sacrete of $5.94 for a total of $111.10. I will warn you, there is a potential that she will look for an actual itemized receipt that shows what these are.
Fair enough.
So it's to Steve Smith for $111.10 for items purchased for the kiosk. I would accept a motion to pay $111.10 to Steve Smith.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. My wife would be flying through this stuff. If I was paying stuff, it'd be quick.
That one's to me. That's for a forestry vest. Cruiser
Field
vest.
vests are $55 now?
Yeah, it's mesh.
You went to Ben Meadows.
Hey, Becky had an account there, so they still have her name on it.
All right. So, the Macy's / Ben Meadows mesh field vest orange XL is $65.38 with shipping and handling. I would accept a motion to pay for said orange safety vest for our conservation administrator.
So moved.
Second.
Did you pay this or do we have to pay them? We have an
That's-
account, you said.
Yeah,
Okay,
well,
so
no, that was my credit card. Sorry.
Oh, okay, so it's on your credit card.
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Tell me about it.
Bonnie says, I may not
Bonnie
be able
took
to
a
attend the
class.
meeting. I have a crazy week coming up. We'll be in Boston. See my payment of $95. So Bonnie, using PayPal, paid $95 to go to the MACC meeting back on whenever the heck it was. She paid for it on June 10th.
The meeting was due.
Oh, you know
No,
what this
she's
is? This is for
Signal.
wetlands delineation for beginners. So this is a class. It's not from the meeting.
Right.
Okay, $95.
So this is reimbursing Bonnie?
Reimbursing Bonnie
Okay.
for paying to further herself at an MACC approved wetland delineation for beginners class. Would accept a motion to pay Bonnie her $95.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next one, Cindy Knox went to Best Buy and bought an iPod Air 2 tablet for us, $499.95. I thought we talked about this.
Right. She bought it.
We talked about getting a tablet, but not.
I don't think we talked about doing it.
Oh,
Yeah, we did.
yeah. I've heard it as go ahead and do it. I heard you say that you were gonna wait on the subscription fee
Yeah.
and decide that with next year's budget, and that you wanted the computer, but
So
you
we
hadn't
have the
decided on the
tablet, but
fee.
it doesn't have the, it doesn't come with the, plan, with the wireless plan.
Right. It has the capacity to eventually turn it on, but as of the moment,
Yeah, but that's how I'd written it in the minutes last
Okay,
time.
as long as it doesn't come with the wireless plan.
So is this, who's this paid to?
it's the town has already paid. It's on the town's credit card, so it's just an approval on your part of that.
Doesn't make sense unless this is something separate. Oh, it's
That's
the
separate,
case.
right?
Okay, so there are two items here. The first one that Cindy ordered in our name is $499.99 shipped to the town for an Apple iPad Air 2 Wi-Fi 64 gigabit space gray with Ben Meadows emblem, $499.99. I would accept a motion. The Ben Meadows emblem was a joke. I would accept a motion to pay the town of Ayer $499 for said iPad.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Then there's a case for said iPad of $112.92. Then shipping and handling promotion. Yeah, $112.92. I would accept a motion to pay $112.92 to protect our $500 iPad.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 And it fits in the Ben Meadows vest. Fancy.
And then this unscrupulously damaged receipt is
The room to the postal machine was locked at 5 o'clock one night. Someone across the street.
all right. So this is $13.15. Am I reading that right?
Yep.
Okay. And what was this for?
I don't even remember. It was 2 pieces of certified mail that for some reason I couldn't do the next day. Might have been the original mailing to Mr. Casey. I wanted to get that out.
So this reimbursement to you?
Right.
All right. We can sign this, but I want to have you tie it to a project before we submit it.
Fair enough.
So I would accept a motion to pay Brian the $13.15 with the note that we need to be able to tie this to a project before we submit it to budget, finance.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Because otherwise she's just kicking it back. This one is Office Super Savers to Robert, and it is the 5-drawer vertical file, letter width, 15 wide, 26 1.5 inches deep, 60 inches high, black finish, filing cabinet, and small person coffin. It is $376.92 shipped here. Is this, and this is, it says it's to Robert,
Yeah.
Is
so
this his
town
credit
credit card.
Oh,
so this is to the town of Ayer. I would accept a motion to pay $376.92 for this.
So moved.
Second.
It's to you.
Alright, so this is my excessive purchase. If you guys feel that it's a worthwhile investment for all of those materials, they're upstairs. And if you don't, I can always return them.
So I very much appreciate that you spent $500 on books, but
Oh,
did
I
you
went
just spend
haywire.
$500 on books on the other end?
No, $250
Oh,
on the other website. Or on the other. One of them, to be fair, is a $100 book.
This is more books?
Oh, it's I went over the
Many more books.
I went down to Garden in the Woods and I pulled every title on their shelf that appeared to be applicable to any issue that might go through those doors.
all right, I'm going to hold this one to the end. Okay, our 715 was with regard to the violation of the Wetland Protection Act, filling of the wetlands, 3 Vermark Lane. I went by there today. I met with Mr. Casey. Over 10 yards of material was pulled out of and off of the hill, most of it trucked off. A small amount was put behind his garage more than 100 feet away, which is for a retaining wall that he's building. I reviewed the site. He has put wood chips down to secure the hill, and I believe that based on our meeting with him that he has met his obligation to create a sustainable slope that is no longer at risk of coming into the wetland area. So overall, I was very pleased with the final product, and I told Mr. Casey that, of course, we would swing by to make sure that everything was staying where it was supposed to, but that should be all set. Anyone have any questions?
What's next in terms of he's cleared the soil out, and the argument that it wasn't filled, that it was natural soil? Do you see anything to offer an opinion one way or the other?
It's all out. That's what matters.
Okay.
Everything that's there is gone.
Fair enough.
And it's been repaired.
And then what's gonna go on that slope?
It's already been done. It's wood chips.
The whole slope is just no vegetation, just wood chips?
Just wood chips. It'll come in by itself. Because in that particular case, the only other thing that he can do is then loam it and seed it, but it's not the right time anyway. Nothing's gonna take now. So,
Cool.
Not with all the rain we're getting.
yeah, the excessive rain.
Yeah.
Okay, let us jump right into our 725 public hearing, notice of intent for Lot 1, single-family home, the extension of Wright Road.
Good evening, Robert Oliver with David Ross Associates. I'm here tonight with the owner and developer of the project, AJ Bergen. So tonight we have Lot 1, 3, and 4 in front of you. Lot 1 is what we're discussing right now. This is the Wright Road extension development that had previously been approved a number of years ago. It's currently under construction. The road's been to binder. There's foundation installed on Lot 2, which is outside the buffer zone, not within the jurisdiction. Lot 1 has wetland off to the back on the remaining land. A new house to be built on Lot 1. So what you see here in red is the proposed house with a porch and a deck and driveway. The 100-foot buffer zone is shown here in red. Cuts through this corner of the house and back down around the back. The development has an existing erosion controlled area that was installed for work on the subdivision. We're calling out for that erosion barrier to stay in place, be maintained, added and repaired for this project if need be. We sat down with Brian last week to go over several things, including these 3 lots. Part of that discussion was perhaps showing a stockpile storage area. So we've actually shown that here, kind of in the front of the lot, in front of the house, outside of the buffer zone. Also, what we've shown at Brian's suggestion is some sort of permanent or semi-permanent barrier on the lot outside of the, just at the edge of the development. So what we're proposing is a number of boulders, large rocks, I call them out as half cubic yard minimum, 25 feet on center, to delineate the edge of what is considered the developed area. So we've done that on Lot 1 in particular. It's essentially the lot line prior to the remainder of the conservation area. The construction in back, I'm showing a small retaining wall, 4-foot wall, just to hold back some grades to a walkout basement. The grades in the property lend itself to walkouts as it's a sloping lot. So we've shown that. There's an additional one here, which is outside the buffer zone. But essentially the back of the house is more or less at grade. Front of the house is at grade in front. There'll be water and sewer service connections, both outside the buffer zone. Another wall here, actually, to hold back grades and give an area for the driveway with a small portion of it extending into the buffer zone just to catch existing grades. So essentially, it's for the construction of the house. This is the house plan that's intended to be built on it. So everything there is pretty accurate in terms of what will go in. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. I can answer any questions you may have.
Jess, do you have any?
So the driveway is going to be close to the woods, the trees that still remain on that.
That's
okay.
correct.
That's already all cleared.
That section above the driveway is not.
Okay.
This area is clear, but anything from the bottom slope up, all the trees still remain intact in this area.
Oh, so they're not coming. I mean, is the area for the driveway also already cleared? Or?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So no new.
No new clear.
No new.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
George? Takashi? I'll give you a minute.
Yeah. Give me a minute.
So I was trying to figure out on the plan, what's the limit of clearing? Are you planning to clear all the way back to the lot line?
I believe inside of the erosion control area that's shown, which was part of the subdivision plan, I believe that's already all been cleared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's correct.
I was surprised to hear you say that hill hadn't been cleared. I thought the whole, has been taken down.
Okay. So every tree is cleared back to this lot line, and then there's no further clearing beyond the lot line planned?
That's correct.
Okay. I think that would absolutely be one of the conditions we'd probably mention later, is just that the limit of clearing was the lot line, so there was no confusion later. Do you still own Lot X?
Yes, I do.
Okay. All right. Any for you, sir?
So I'm looking at the determination from Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program, the letter that you provided, and can you explain where you are in terms of satisfying the requirements?
Sure. Just to update you, in that letter obviously goes with the order of conditions on the subdivision, but
Right.
Since Mr. Bergen has bought the property and developed it, I think there was some, he's not a developer per se. So currently what's happening is the plan that was done for the conservation restriction is being updated with new names, new parcel numbers.
Okay.
It'll be coming forth to the Conservation Commission. AJ's working with his attorney right now. He's been in contact with Misty at Natural Heritage. In fact, I spoke with her today.
Okay.
So that's all in the works. He's being proactive about the fact that it's not done. He didn't understand what was out there. So he's working on that. We've drafted or redrafted the CR plan. I think your attorney has it now.
That's correct.
So that'll be coming shortly.
Okay.
In the conditions, he's also working with Oxbow, with Scott at Oxbow,
Gotcha.
on the turtle plan. I think Scott even made some adjustments to the erosion control barrier. I think he put in a turtle gate, what I heard.
Okay.
So everything that's supposed to be done in terms of Natural Heritage's conditions are being addressed.
Okay.
Maybe not fully at this point, but they're working on it.
Okay. Thank you. And then I guess a related question: the overall, parameters of what was required, are those the same or?
Yeah, in fact, in my conversation with Misty today, and I didn't understand this, but now I do, because that letter and the original conditions from Natural Heritage were issued under the Wetlands Protection Act for the subdivision, we did send the 3 notices that you have tonight to her,
Okay.
and they'll be issuing their own letter for each of the lots.
Gotcha.
With their 30-day time period. So Misty actually wanted me to remind you that since you don't have a letter from them, meet the continued hearing,
Okay,
which I anticipated anyway, so.
okay. Thank you.
I'm probably also going to talk to Misty, and this is in no way to hold anything up, but one of the items that we're probably going to talk about later on tonight is a conservation restriction from 2005 that fell to the wayside, got pushed around, and continues to badger both the applicant and the town.
Mhm.
So I was just trying to look through to figure out what specifics are required to meet the conditions in order to satisfy natural heritage. And unfortunately, if there's a plan that goes along with what she's looking for, it's not attached here. Do you have?
There was one of the original, I think September 30th, 2011 letter. I know it doesn't go back to 2005. Letter from Natural Heritage. There's 6 conditions in their letter. It talks about a deck. We'll start with number 1. Final plans shall be substantially the same from the plans as noted above for the 4 single-family homes. So that's still true. There was a declaration of restriction which Natural Heritage had received and approved. That needed to be recorded, and declaration of restrictions required prior to any work. So as far as I know, the paperwork, the declaration of restriction, the CR plan, they had all been reviewed. I don't know what happened after they were approved. Nothing ever got recorded.
Right.
So we're following up on that. Number 3 on their letter was the conservation restriction. Had been approved, received and approved. Prior to start of work, the CR was supposed to be finalized, and within a year of initiation of work, provide proof of recordation of the approved conservation restriction. Obviously, that was never done. Again, we're working on it. AJ's working on it. The recordable plan, this is the plan that our office had prepared, the plan of conservation restriction. Again, it's being updated. It'll come forth again for approval and to be recorded. There was a condition for certification of monumentation, that 2 monuments to be set, property monuments on the CR, which I believe were iron rebar with caps, which I believe were installed. But then there's also, there's a sign that's supposed to go around the conservation restriction, and that's on the conservation restriction plan. So at some point, our office will have to certify that both the property monuments and the CR signs have been installed, which they have not been at this point. And number 6 in their items was a Blandings turtle protection plan. Scott from Oxbow is currently back talking with Misty about that, and we'll be developing that. So everything in Natural Heritage's list is being addressed in some form or another at the moment to make sure it's done timely and keep things moving.
So that's where the problem has always come up.
Mhm.
So what happens is the developer finishes the project, walks away, the CR is never recorded, never finished. So, no offense. I'm going to probably call Misty and ask her what her recommendation is and where she's headed with that kind of thing now, so that we can come to some kind of equitable time frame where we don't hold up the house sales, because obviously that's the point of what you're doing, but at the same time that we don't finish without having the CR completed.
Sure, understood.
So I don't know if it ends up being this lot or one of the others, but that's definitely a discussion I'd like to have with Misty to make sure that if we look at this as one project, which effectively it is, that before the project is complete, that we get that CR squared away. So we're not 10 years later wondering about it. So, when George is chair. All right. Okay. Do you have anything else? No. Okay. So clearly, as we've done in the past, we'd like to do a site walk. The best way for us to perform that is to stake out the corners of the house so that we can walk on site and see them. One minor complication, we typically do it on Saturdays, and I am not available this Saturday. You're,
I'm not available.
you're not either.
Wait,
Yeah,
we
that's
have
fine.
we have a sidewalk, Pingree Road.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and that's going to be a problem, isn't it?
Could we do it one evening next week?
No. All right. Why don't we do, if we're Hemlock and Hickory, why don't we do 10 o'clock?
This Saturday?
This Saturday? Do you think you can have it staked for this Saturday? All right.
Following Saturday, I think it's 4th of July weekend.
It's the 4th of July weekend. That's probably not going to work either.
Next meeting, I believe, is the 14th of July.
Well, let's see.
Mhm.
Does that leave us one more Saturday prior to?
The only other option I can foresee is the 29th, which is a Wednesday night. But when are you off? When are you back in town at night?
5:30,
5:30?
yeah.
Okay. Do you have a meeting on Wednesday night or anything like that?
A week from next week?
Yes, next Wednesday night.
I'm in Colorado.
Okay. Trust us to walk it without you?
Yes.
Okay. I can do next Wednesday, but it'd have to be like 6:30 for there to be any chance of me actually making it. Okay, so with regard to lot number 1, plan is to have a site walk. Damn it, what day was that?
6:29.
29, yeah. On 6/29 at 6:30 p.m. on site. Please have the 2 corners of the lot staked. Okay.
Of the house?
Of the house. At least 2 corners of the house staked so we can figure out where the house is.
Sure.
All right. Anything further on that application? And I would accept a motion to continue the public hearing. And did we get a DEP number?
No.
Okay. Accept a motion to continue the public hearing for lot number 1, Wright Road extension, to our next hearing, which is July 14th.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Uh,
Aye. Thank you very much. Let's now open our discussion for lot number 3.
Continue it.
Say again.
Continue this one.
What? I just did.
You
Yeah.
just did for lot 1.
Lot 1.
Okay.
That's what I did.
Just
Please tell us about lot number 3, sir.
Okay, lot 3, again, so Wright Road, we're on the left-hand side of Wright Road now. Lot 3, currently, the box shown, lot 3 is for sale. We don't have a homeowner or a buyer yet. So lot 3 is actually shown as a large box to indicate the area for construction. In all likelihood, the house might be slightly smaller because we jumbo-sized it. So we have a driveway off of the cul-de-sac on Wright Road. So we have the wetlands out and back. We have the 100-foot buffer zone running through the front of the house. The 25-foot wetland setback is shown here behind the house. Again, the dashed line represents the erosion control barrier that's currently up and will be maintained as it was noted on lot 1. And again, we plan on installing boulders to form a barrier to the, really here, there was a no disturb zone that I think approved under the subdivision approval, which more or less coincides with the 25-foot wetland setback to some degree, so that's about where the boulders will go. In back, there's just a little bit of grading back of the house to create a level area behind the house. That grading, again, is all outside or within the limits of work. Again, walkout basement. We are showing another retaining wall here, short 4-foot tall retaining wall for grades to provide some level area around the house. Identical notice of intent as filed for lot 1.
What is the limit of clearing to the bottom? So you've got the detention basin, I assume that all has to be cleared.
I believe it's already
Already cleared out?
Yeah.
Okay, so it'll be easy to see when we're on site.
That's staked as well.
Yeah, and that's actually staked now,
Okay.
so.
Okay. Do you have any questions, Jess?
Nope.
George?
What are you doing with roof runoff?
We hadn't planned anything in particular here. Actually, well, it's lot 4, lot 1, lot 3. It's really, eventually what's gonna happen is gonna run off into that basin. So it's in a way more or less handled.
The other lots,
The other lots, we weren't proposing anything in particular.
okay.
Although I think the subdivision plans call for the stone trench along foundations.
I'm sure, I was gonna say.
Yeah,
I think we did.
I think it was on one of the comments on that one.
Okay.
Just a little reach out here.
Okay. I mean, that's usually on the new houses, that's how we'll handle it. I know on lot 4, I think there were some ledge encountered, so we might not have the option on lot 4.
Okay. The same discussion as far as NHASP goes for future. Anything for you, sir?
I think I'm good.
Okay. Based on our past discussion, have the site walk on the 29th at 6:30 p.m. If there's nothing else, I would accept a motion to continue this public hearing to July 14th.
So,
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
I-
Aye. Thank you very much. Let's open the public hearing to discuss notice of intent for Lot 4 on Wright Road.
So lot 4, we were just on lot 3 down here, we're now at lot 4, basically at the beginning to the Wright Road extension. Lot 4, we do have an actual house plan, so that the footprint you see is what's actually proposed. Just real quickly, so we have the wetlands here, and then there's a finger that runs up on the backside. We have the 100-foot buffer zone here in red, which basically encompasses the whole house. The driveway is out of the buffer zone. Again, we show a temporary stockpile area outside the buffer zone. We are showing, again, the boulders along the limit of disturbance, storm water connections. Again, we show a small retaining wall for grading purposes inside the buffer zone with some grading here for the yard. Again, walkout basement, so front is at grade, the rear is actually a little above grade. And to that end, in the back, to create a small level area in back of the house, we're creating a slope which is a little steeper than, it's steeper than the 2-to-1 grade, so I've reinforced it with riprap. I actually have a detail on the plan. That's really about the only difference on this particular application than the other two. And that was, of course, to keep the grading inside our buildable area, inside the limit of work. Really nothing different on this one other than the riprap slope than lot 3.
George? What's the limit of clearing to the north of the house? Has that been cleared?
Yeah, this is in fact, you had the ledge up in here?
Yep, so the clearing has been done all the way to the dotted line in the back.
Mm-hmm.
The area up here has
Mhm.
not been cleared. They wanted a little buffer to the house next door.
Sure.
So I would say, if you follow my finger right through here, it still has trees.
Okay. Is the lot north of that, is that one of the A&R lots, or is that the neighbor?
That is there's a piece of property that runs the whole
Strip.
the strip that goes. from-
Cowley's.
Cowley Strip, yep.
Okay. So I'd seen it on the other one, and I figured I just wasn't looking carefully. And then I saw it on the next one, and I figured I wasn't looking carefully. You've mentioned on these, the boulders. I see them on the Lot 1 plan where they're marked and located,
Okay.
but I don't see them.
There was, the original submittal did not have them.
Okay.
It came up as a result of conversation with Brian.
So they're on the 11 by 17s, but they're not on the...
Yes,
on the
that
Cs. Okay.
was, so the revised plans Brian has shown.
Okay. No, I just wanted to make sure we weren't missing something. Okay. Any questions?
Just on this one we're talking about, lot 4, what are the oval shape?
This thing?
No,
Oh.
within the
In the
easement?
AT&T easement?
Yeah,
Oh.
That's existing.
Yeah, there was an old existing kind of boulder slope wall there.
Okay.
That's all existing.
Okay.
Interesting.
That's it. Thanks.
And
I
just
believe
beside
it
that.
was a telephone easement, and when they went and put that in, all the boulders that they acquired, they kind of lined up outside.
Gotcha.
Speaking of easements, the DPW is going to be doing their directional drilling of the sewer line. Is that going to be happening this fall?
I've had some discussions with Mark from DPW. They're their intention is to extend the domestic water line from the end of the cul-de-sac.
Come down through here and then cross and drill and
Under and pop up in
Yeah.
Franny's yard.
get down to Sandy Road, to Sandy Pond Road.
So it's between lots,
Between lots 4 and 2.
okay.
Is there a staging area or anything drawn for that now? Is it inside the limit of work? What's the,
We don't know the particulars of their construction. In fact, they're developing that now. They'll have to come in and present a plan to you on what they
yeah,
do.
so clearly it's not part of your NOIs.
It is not part of our NOI. They'll have to file separately.
That could actually be a problem for them because they're going to have to go to natural heritage on their own then.
Mm-hmm.
Open up their own 30-day
Yeah,
review period.
unless they're on an accelerated schedule, it shouldn't delay, I mean, it'll probably take 30 days for us to review and improve an
No, I guess it just seems foolish to have not done it as part of this, but
Yeah, but it's hard to, if they don't know how they're gonna do it yet.
I have, because I'm doing the conservation restriction, basically there was already one submitted and approved from National Heritage. I'm taking the same language and just putting the new owners on that. Now is the time I could add language in for that water line extension and submit that. I just didn't want to have that, if any comments came back, hold the development on for the water line.
no, understandable.
Yeah. But I'm willing to put that language in, and if they accept it, I mean, I'm almost there now.
I would assume that's a conversation with Misty,
Yeah,
and I wouldn't expect it to be onerous because, you know, unlike the house and the neighborhood and the yards, the water line goes in and then
So
Done.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
never see it again. Hopefully.
Yeah.
If it works right.
The conversations that I did have to date was the intent was to bring the drill rig down along the detention area and set up in a flat level area as well as on the opposite side by Sandy Pond.
Right.
And the only thing with that is it goes right through the new drainage detention area.
Yeah.
And the drainage pipe that I have the area staked, so we know we can look at it. But just trying to coordinate if that work is gonna happen in a timely fashion. I would hold off on this area until the drilling was done. And then on the way out, we would put the detention area and the drainage system in.
Well, you're paved now, right?
I'm paving that.
So what are you doing with the runoff now?
Right now, the catch basins are in, but they're steel plated and paved over.
Okay.
The road crowns to both sides to where the catch basins were. I installed hay bales at those locations with stone behind it. And we've been constantly watching them after every storm to see how much runoff. And this area here and here is all sand, so the water dissipates very well, and we haven't had any erosion or anything to date.
Okay, so I remember there's a knoll there, right? And it drops off pretty steeply.
Yeah,
So,
And moves over behind your house, right?
yes.
On lot 2, yeah.
Who's responsible for the basin maintenance?
For the
Basin maintenance.
currently, I mean, until the town takes it,
Okay,
it's the
towns
developer. Oh, yeah, but, no,
No.
there's a homeowners association for the
I-
basin.
I did speak to Mark about that as well. There's a homeowner association that has to be in place to maintain the basin. I opted to take that responsibility for myself. Mark was very receptive to that. He's also planning to have a service company come in potentially to maintain other basins in town.
I was going to say, I thought that was the indication he gave us, was that he was interested in heading in that direction.
And if that was the case, then he would have me talk to them as well and making some sort of contract that he was happy with.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right. All he's looking for, I'm sure, is a stable time frame for basins to be checked and maintained. And okay.
Just one other question. Bonnie had written that she just had a concern that she had noticed the lots being advertised as beachfront access or water access, and just down the road. I know that at Cornelia they'd gotten the Chapter 91 dock license, but what's the intent on getting access to Sandy Pond on these lots
Um,
down the road?
In the conservation restriction that was submitted, in that was the permit, the Mass State permit for the dock permit on Lot 1.
Yeah.
And there was also language in there for a path access to said dock, and some language in there about being able to have a small beach and maintaining it.
Okay, if that's gonna happen, it needs to be on the NOI for that property, because you can't put the dock in without it unless you plan to come for a separate NOI to do it.
Okay.
I don't remember that as part of the,
I don't
Dock
remember it either,
license.
so
yeah.
it would be good to see that. The reason we bring that up is, back when the dock license issue happened, Jess and Becky met with dozens of homeowners who were on the great ponds in town and hashed out all those dock licenses. And it was a pretty big process.
Yeah, this one's been in place since 2009, and they're good for 15 years.
Right. Oh, no, I remember that part.
Yeah.
But I just don't remember us doing this property.
Yeah, well, we did one for Ed Cornelia
Right,
for
but
his, but I don't remember it having talked about a path, because it would have to cross wetlands, wouldn't it? I mean, we had talked about maybe they could somehow do a floating bridge or something across to get to that.
it would be
But-
swell if you had some idea marked on the plan of what that was going to look like.
I do have a copy of the permit that has a sketch.
Can you show to the dock for this?
I think I remember that too.
Yeah, they got a general one thinking down the road, they had no idea what they were gonna do.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think it has to have an area specified, so they must have come with a big box.
Yeah.
I don't think it can be open-ended.
So this is lot 1, and this is the abutter's strip of land that goes to the pond, and it's about 50 feet off the corner. And
Right. So it's close to the line of the Cowley strip, but I think the open question at the time that Mr. Cornelia had never resolved was how to get from the solid land to the water.
The language in the CR that was submitted to National Heritages that was reviewed had language in there for a small walking path through the conservation land to the dock only, and beach area, and that could be pruned and maintained only in the walking path.
This is also a 40-foot dock,
It's 40 foot.
40 feet.
Wow.
So
Okay.
that might explain how to get over the vegetation.
Yeah. Yeah, because there would be a difference though between a dock going over the wetlands versus creating a path that would require filling the wetlands.
Right.
So that you couldn't do automatically.
No.
Okay.
So it would be swell if you had that as part of your application for that property, so that we can put all that together in one NOI.
Okay.
Let's save you from having to come back.
Okay.
Because in this particular case, the simplified licenses we did as RDAs. And the idea is that in general, the average homeowner, we did an RDA because their backyard was already cleared and they were putting a dock right into the pond.
Okay.
Yours is going to go through that conservation area, so we'll want to see that laid out, and we'll want to see where this 40-foot dock starts and ends,
Okay.
so that we'll better understand it for the project.
Okay.
Because undoubtedly you'll have material removal, etc. We'll just want to discuss how that's going to happen before you do it.
If a 40-foot dock isn't needed, and I go less than that, because 40 feet's obviously.
I don't think less would be bad, but let's at least get a feel for where it's going to happen.
Okay.
And if there's any sort of, you usually like a cross-section if there's any crossing over a wetland part. So think of cross-section.
Well,
Right.
let's start with where and go
Where.
from there.
Maybe we could look at that out of the walkthrough.
That would be perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so same natural heritage notes apply,
Okay.
and meeting at 6/29 at 6:30 p.m. next Wednesday. And if there's nothing further, I would entertain a motion to continue to 7:14.
Perfect. That'd be great. Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. We'll see you next Wednesday. All right. I get the next one of these to do personally. 725, 726, 727.
I didn't know what order you wanted to do them in.
Bro. All right. We continue the public hearing for Ridgeview with the intention of,
Just continuing through.
in case if he
Yep.
didn't need it again. Okay. Did you hear from Steve at all?
Nothing.
Okay. So, based on our
I
conversation,
did get the
Steve.
check though.
Excellent. Based on our conversation with the next applicant, so let's reopen the public hearing. Notice of,
We had actually, at our last meeting, we had continued it to 7:14 then.
I didn't want to trip over something where like you had a gap with continuing.
Yeah.
well, in this particular case, if it's continued to 7:14, then we will leave it and acknowledge that there is a public hearing and that we have a meeting this Saturday morning. All right. Next public hearing is Notice of Intent 100-0388, Rosewood Avenue Extension for the purpose of accessing a yet-to-be-built solar array.
Good evening.
Evening,
Kyle
gentlemen.
Bouchard with GPR. At the last hearing, we had the outstanding issues of meeting the wetland data sheets, and then also approaching the Army Corps about whatever permitting was needed through them. So we've submitted the wetland data sheets, and we've put in the self-verification notice form that's required for General Permit 10, which is 4 stream crossings, to the Army Corps. Along with that is a notification to the State Historic Preservation Officer. And that fulfills those requirements. The Army Corps, once you can show the eligibility for the self-verification to them. There's no further written notification or permitting or anything. That's why it's a self-verification notification form. So we've had some spirited back and forth on the conditions for the project. If there aren't any questions about any other aspect of the project other than the conditions,
Just one. I got this, so I got this tonight.
These are your memos.
Okay.
This is the from Dave Crossman.
Yes.
Okay. And so, since we didn't have a chance to read this yet, I'm just going to go through real quick. Mr. Crossman, who we're very familiar with, says that the beaver built the dam. That I guess is actually conjecture. I mean,
It is at this point, yes.
right. The old overflow is evidenced by the channel's beaver dam is currently inactive. We redelineated the end of Rosewood Ave, so this is our discussion from last meeting. Granted, some is invasive, but they are still upland plant species. We did attempt to take a look at the soils in the lowest area. Getting a good sample is difficult. Since the soils are gravel, tend to be very porous. In addition, beaver activity forced more water through this area. Current soil conditions would indicate hydric conditions, but we believe this was exaggerated by the beaver activity as soils just outside of the area are upland soils. Normally, in an altered area, the soils would be relied upon as the true indicator of current conditions. However, in this case, the soils have been altered much more substantially than the vegetation. Additionally, soils take longer to revert back to either upland or wetland conditions. In this area, the soils would require an extended period of time to revert back to upland soil characteristics. In conclusion, we believe current soil conditions are not indicative of the natural soils that would have been present if beaver activity had not changed the hydrology of the local environment. We believe the area is reverting back to upland based upon the vegetation that is becoming established along and within the cart road. Since the vegetation is over 50% upland, the area is upland. After all, wetlands are based upon vegetation first. This is why the wetland resource is known as bordering vegetated wetlands. I've attached the DEP data sheet, which has the vegetative analysis of the area. If you have any questions or need further information, call me. So I read that out loud because we just got it today. So
What's the date on that?
June 23rd.
Can I have a copy of it?
You can have that copy.
In my discussion with Dave Crossman, I asked him about his statement about why it would be indicative of hydro soil. It's because of the color,
Right.
not so much the quality of the soil itself, the type of soil was
To be fair, I skipped over that part because I figured most people wouldn't know it, but
Yeah.
yes. The next letter is a memorandum from GPR. It is with regard to the filing of the USACE self-verification notification form for general permit 10. Says Kyle writes to us, correspondence with USACE regulatory divisions Greg Penta and Lindsay Lefebvre during the week of June 20th, 2016, confirmed that the Rosewood Avenue Extension project, if self-verification eligible, should be filed under general permit 10 pertaining to linear transportation projects, including stream crossings. Since the stream crossing of the unnamed tributary to James Brook is the purpose of the impacts to resource areas protected by the Wetland Protection Act, this is the appropriate general permit for the notification. So, completed USACE self-verification notification forms were emailed and sent via U.S. mail to the USACE Regulatory Division in Concord, Mass., documenting eligibility and compliance. Is Brian copied on those?
Yes.
Thank you. Tribal Historic Preservation Officer for Ayer was sought, but none of the 4 tribes communities contacted that were listed in the USACE guidance document requested that we file any additional notice with them. So I've been dealing with the tribes for many, many years. They don't respond. So did you have to send them a check?
No.
Okay. One of the conditions for the SVNF is to notify SHPO, right, which has been completed via U.S. mail. There's nothing there in Macros. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about this part of the filing? You're familiar with SHPO and tribal?
No,
Do you guys do any of that?
no.
Yeah.
So, all right.
In consultation, we had a consultant come in and talk to us about the Army Corps filing to make sure that we had everything right, Marianne Pinto.
Excellent.
So she came and sat with us, called somebody at the Corps, they had a conversation, so we got very good direction on exactly what we need to do.
Well, we really appreciate that because, obviously, as we've said many times, this is not the kind of thing that we do every day, and Marianne DePinto is a fantastic resource for that.
She is, she's great.
So that's wonderful. Okay. So I'm going to pass those to you if you'd like to. Thank you. Okay. Did anyone have anything else with regard to the application? Those were the 2 primary things that we were talking about last time.
So, Brian, can we get a copy of that? Or did that come in electronically?
Yeah, I've got it electronically.
Okay. Can you send that?
Yeah.
I can give you copies after you guys copy.
I mean, yeah, you want me to just...
And I don't see a data sheet on there, though, so what?
There's just, like this thick.
I have
And I got them, just this evening, so...
Here's a full package of David's letter with all the data sheets attached. D is the one that was the latest one.
You want to take a second and go through?
Do that. 30 seconds and I'll copy this for you.
Okay.
I'm about to take 2 weeks to go.
All right. Well, Takashi is perusing and keeping one ear on this. So I did understand that there was spirited debate back and forth. I saw a couple of the emails and I got a text message the other day to look, but this was not a good week for me to do anything. So would you please be so kind as to start with the first condition that you have a question about?
Well, I would like to just make a general comment about the extent of the conditions that somewhat interwoven and vague in many instances, and they duplicate a lot of effort. They have the effect of requiring nearly constant coordination and communication with the commission via the agent or some other method, but the procedures for doing so are not very clearly laid out.
Okay.
In some cases, not in all. So, with that as a backdrop, it seems that there's a lot of potentially confusing language that's in here for contractors to understand. So taking issue with some of that. There's also some specification of requirements which, quite frankly, I don't know if they exist.
Well, that sounds like a lot to do then. So why don't we start
So
with
we should
the...
probably start reading through them, because I assume the commission has not had a chance to actually review these 17 pages of conditions. I guess looking to understand what the extent of the commission's purview will be as far as or how the process would work for imposing additional conditions that might be separate from working with a contractor in the field to assess situations, address situations that come up. So ADM 4 on page 3 of the conditions. I don't know if everyone has the conditions.
I just brought the one.
Thank you.
Do you want me to, you guys want to read along? We'll go up and print a few more.
Well-
I don't know, I wanted to put out the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe the best way to do it is to, I don't have any problem reading them out.
Okay.
So, ADM 4, Commission reserves the right to require additional conditions if deemed necessary to protect the resource areas in interest as defined in MGL Chapter 131, Section 40, with proper notification of all parties. I don't remember that from the boilerplate. Was that in the boilerplate?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I don't know where half of these things came from.
Yeah, you're not.
That was really like one of our first ones.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. We understand that.
But the way I'm interpreting it and remembering it is that it's a non-enforcement order option for, you know, things that come up.
I sort of remember that as, you know, if conditions change dramatically or something new was discovered, we wanted the right to add in protections of some sort.
Well, we can certainly deal with them as violation notices and enforcement orders if that's better and strike it.
I guess
Is
it's
that
just
the
a-
only option? I mean, isn't there, I don't understand if there's, because of the involvement specified throughout the conditions for the agent to be involved in the construction of the project on an ongoing, nearly daily basis, wouldn't it be, you know, yes, I agree, it's an option to have enforcement orders as the only option, but additional conditions would result in an amended order of conditions, so another process for the commission for, you know, I maybe would lend to Jess what she's saying, if there's substantial changes on the site or in the work that's being performed, wouldn't that be something more reasonable? Because this is a very blanket, open-ended, very difficult to, I mean,
I think,
for what reasons?
I think one of the things Becky had in mind on that, and I think this one comes from our old one, was thinking of something like the willow and that hillside that we couldn't have foreseen how that was going to open up the way it did disastrously.
They could have foreseen, they could have
Yeah.
been borings, but that's a
Yeah.
different discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is that, what I'm hearing Jess say is that the original intent was in case other information developed during the project. You're saying that you would prefer to strike it. I'm saying we can deal with it as violation and enforcement orders. If something changes during it, we'll just do it that way. Or we can do them as, we can deal with changes that come up as changes come in for an amendment to the application. Whatever's the best way to do it. I don't have any problem striking it with the knowledge that the purpose of the special condition is if something changes, it's so that we deal with it as we go through it.
Yes,
Okay, so we'll strike it.
thank you.
Before you go ahead, and Brian, I have to apologize, I just found this late today. It's from.
Is this the memo that from NHESB, right?
No, this is Tom Gibbons weighed in on this, and not from any of the, Tom Gibbons, an attorney in town.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
It's not from any of the wetland stuff. He's talking about it from the order conditions and what makes sense to put in the order. And when you, I mean, in the deed itself, and when you go to the very back of the order conditions, special conditions, there's a bunch of conditions that are in perpetuity that are specified as being part, shall be referred to in all future deeds of this property. And as an attorney, he took issue with that, saying it would overburden the deed itself. And what he suggests is to add something to admin 5 which would read like this: the order of conditions shall apply to successors in interest or successors in control and shall survive the issuance. That's in already. And then his new language is: all future deeds shall reference this order and recording information for the same in the following format. This property may be subject to an order of conditions issued by the Town of Ayer Conservation Commission, which order is recorded with the Middlesex South Registry of Deeds, book thus and such, page such and such, of which some conditions therein survive the issuance of a certificate of compliance. So it's giving notice to whoever buys it that there's an order of conditions on record that has conditions in it that survive in perpetuity. Now, it does mean that that person would have to be given a copy of the order of conditions, but then when you go on to the latter part of condition of admin 5, he's got some additional language. It says, within 10 calendar days inclusive of such transfer, written and notarized affidavit, and he's added signed by the buyer and seller, shall be filed with the Conservation Commission stating that, and he's got a new condition: the seller has provided the buyer with a copy of this order of conditions and the buyer has read this order of conditions. The buyer certifies that the buyer understands all terms applicable to the project site. The buyer certifies that the buyer understands that any work within 100 feet of the wetlands, blah, 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 and all the rest of it's the same language. So basically what he's putting in here is saying that you put it in the deed that there's a blanket statement that there's an order of conditions on record, and then you make it incumbent upon the seller and the buyer to hand that order of conditions over, that the buyer has to understand the terms of it, and that he understands any work within 100 feet of the wetlands and 200 feet of the riverfront is subject to the order to the Conservation Commission. He felt that's a cleaner way to do it than to have all these individual orders in the deed itself.
Well, it certainly sounds effective, as long as it happens. We did run into a project in the past where it didn't happen, and that was one of the reasons that we have conditions the way we have them is that as projects have happened, we've had problems with those projects. And I would certainly...
with new buyers for projects?
With old builders. So that's really where all the problems come from. I guess what I would say is, to me, that seems like a efficacious way to deal with it. Do you have any thoughts?
I don't know. I was just thinking of Kohler Place, and just some of the order of conditions was just passed on in a signed affidavit, and still the new owner, only recently found out.
Yeah, he was unaware completely when I mentioned it. It was just blank. He had
So
no
I'm just
idea.
not certain that that's an effective way
I guess what I'd
long-term.
throw out to you is it more likely that they would read the order and sign the affidavit if it's put in front of them at the closing, rather than actually read the deed?
Well, I think we run into two problems there. A, I don't think they're going to read it either way. But yes, if their attorney hands it to them during the closing, at least they're made aware of it. But you're right. The problem we run into is during transfer.
Yeah.
We're depending upon the person getting it to make themselves knowledgeable.
Yeah, I think the root cause of most of the problems is on the part of the realtor, and they don't flip through all the way, the ones that I've been exposed to. And so you've got the deed to your house, you've got that, and people know where that document is, and that's where the recommendation for that particular language came from.
Well, interestingly, I personally feel that the deed ends up being the thing that's passed to them in an envelope. They pull it out, they look, it says the deed, they push it back in.
Also true.
So,
they at least know where it is, though.
But they're not reading it.
No.
They're not going to read it no matter what happens, which is why in a lot of cases the purpose of the stones or the signs is to lead people to the idea that they shouldn't work on that side of the buffer, etc. Were there specific perpetual conditions that you found onerous and would prefer to address?
I don't think we were doing this because there's any particular perpetual condition that we disliked any more than any other one. I think it was just I think it was just this was Tom Gibbons' suggestion as an attorney dealing with land transfer. So take it as that, because I don't really have a preference myself. It's not gonna affect me one or the other. But it was, and I can give you this document. He's also got other things in the document. There's very few, but there are a few where he inserts the word reasonable.
Okay, well, let's do one at a time. So we don't skip it past anything.
As we hit them.
Excuse me. Do you have any thoughts about passing on at a closing as opposed to putting in a deed?
I think they're both equally legal, I would assume, so I don't see much difference. Like you say, they're not gonna read it either way.
I'm assuming that it's going to be the thing that they go, oh,
Well, who is going to read what? Like which, at what point in the transaction with all the people? The lawyers, the realtors, what is the most written document involved? Any
the
of them?
check. That's it.
So can we condition that the check is perpetually?
This is where the problem comes in. The problem comes in that the person who files for this is an expert in their field and knows what they're doing. And then someone later on will use the property who will potentially do things that are inappropriate because they don't have that same level of experience. It's just it is.
Yeah.
It's disappointing, but there's no way to fix it. Do you have any other thoughts? I like the idea of putting it on the check.
Yeah, I do too.
Big check.
I've done this enough to know that it's not just realtors, but even attorneys, good attorneys, miss these things, and then you end up with a buyer who doesn't know what they bought.
Well,
and
or
this is just if the conditions themselves aren't objectionable, then leave them in.
well, I think what we're saying is that the idea is the idea is not to remove or add to the conditions. The idea is just how they're presented. Correct?
As to whether we actually insert them into the deed itself, which the attorney doesn't want to do, or whether we reference it in the deed and then provide the information outside of the deed.
Right. So from that aspect, as George was saying, I think they're both legal, and I feel the same way in that if in one way or another it's referenced as part of the passage of the property, then it's about as good as it's going to get.
So what would be referenced in the deed? Or
The perps.
Just the fact that there's an order of conditions that survive
Right.
the certificate of compliance. And Calvin actually pointed out that this has more to do with the subdivision than it does with this
Sure.
parcel.
Sure.
But it kind of applies to both.
No, but it's a good conversation to have because it's a viable way to deal with it in the future. So, okay. You said he has specific language for ADM 5?
He does, yeah.
Okay.
But I can give it to Brian if that's.
Can you read it one more time? Just because
Sure.
I believe we can at least make a call on it based on
Okay,
that.
so the first sentence is the same, ends with certificate of compliance. His new language is, all future deeds shall reference this order and the recording information for the same in the following format. Quotes, this property may be subject to an order of condition issued by the Town of Ayer Conservation Commission, which order is recorded with the Middlesex South District Registry of Deeds in book blank, page blank, of which some conditions therein survive the issuance of a certificate of compliance. And then on the next page, where they start talking about within 10 days inclusive of such transfer, written and notarized affidavit signed by the seller and the buyer shall be filed with the commission, stating that the seller has provided the buyer with this order of conditions and the buyer has read this order of conditions. The buyer certifies that the buyer understands all terms applicable to the project site. The buyer certifies that the buyer understands that any work within 100 feet of wetlands and 200 feet of river and all the rest of it's the same.
I think that's at least as effective as anything else.
So it's that reference in the deed that there's an order of conditions that may have conditions that
Yes.
survive, and then there'd be a separate signed affidavit.
Yes.
I'm okay with that then.
Right. I
So
think
would
we're.
it be the two affidavits with that one affidavit set, or would they be the same? Whatever condition that is with the signed affidavit.
Well, the first one is the condition that goes in the deed, and the second one is the affidavit
Yeah.
that is actually signed. He actually gave me a blank copy of it. This talks, it just talks about giving you the order, the DEP number, the name of the buyers and the sellers and.
Hmm.
Well,
Yeah, that might be cleaner, because, you know, when you're flipping through and they say, this is for this, and this is for this, and this is for this.
Here's, for example, lead paint, there's no lead paint,
Right.
you agree that the guy told you to do it, yeah, you just,
Right,
you know.
right. Well, that's what happens. It's
Signing.
check and signing, check and signing.
So the deed, yeah, so the deed's actually got the reference to the fact that it exists, and then the,
And so
Yeah,
they at least
yeah.
hear verbally that you have orders and conditions potentially on this house, do you agree and sign here? And they've at least heard the word, theoretically, order of conditions
well, and
verbally.
according to that, they've seen it. They've
Right.
been presented with it, and they've seen it and read it and understand it. So
Right.
they have no way to come back to you and say, geez, we didn't know.
Yeah.
Right, right. That's the notification part. The education about what it actually means part is the more complicated part.
Always.
Like Chinese drywall. All right. So, based on our conversation for special condition number 5, I believe we accept that language as brought to us by Mr. Gibbons, and we would appreciate if you thanked him for his work on that. So this would be changed.
Fine? Where's the specific line?
Somebody should probably go for food, because number 6.
I'm happy to read all of them out loud if that's needed, but some are not a question.
Oh, I just went to the next one, so
Okay.
please feel free to.
We
That's
had
not
some
reasonable.
discussion about number 7, which is talking about commission access to the site for inspection, visitation, whatever. And it's very important on a hazardous site that any commission members are giving proper notification to the contractor. That's been stated as 1 hour's notice.
Well, minimum. I just didn't know, you know, if you want to have a pop quiz kind of situation.
Right, and I'd like to, if I may, just jump down to pre-construction condition pre-C1D, which reads, all erosion and sediment control measures shall be installed for inspection and approval by the commission or its agent. Perfectly reasonable. The commission must be notified at least 7 days prior to the commencement of work for such inspection. So, I think maybe this is very confusing. I think that maybe the intent of this is the commission must be notified at least 7 days prior to the inspection of work.
That is, it's supposed to be the inspection of the work, and the reasoning, as you're aware, is that the position is part-time. And so we need the 7 days in order to make sure that we don't hold you up.
I agree, and if we make that change, that clarifies it. Otherwise, the contractor sits there, gives notification, then he can begin. Instead of being in the schedule, scheduling the inspection at a proper time when, it'll be done, it'll be ready to be inspected. Okay, that's great.
So it's more like Monday I can notify you, and then the following Monday is when I'm planning to do the work.
Right.
And
No.
No.
Sorry.
So what happens is on Monday, you say, hey, I'm putting the hay bales in. They'll be ready for you to inspect 1 week from today. So the idea is that you're giving Brian the week because he is only in a couple days during that time. So that gives him the ability to schedule and set up the time to do the inspection so that he doesn't hold you up the following Monday when it's time for you when you'd like to start off. That way.
Right, but I'm allowed, once I notify him to schedule the visit, the day after I notified him, I can
So
start
this
putting
is-
the hay bales or whatever, the
If
erosion
you-
control.
if you
Actually,
made
you may do that at any point that you wish. You're scheduling the inspection with him.
Right. Once you have an order of conditions, you can do the hay bales and the silt fence at any point. The idea is that you're notifying Brian that you'd like to have an inspection, and
Correct.
the idea is to give at least 7 days of notice
Yeah.
so that there's no overlap and we don't hold you
Right,
up.
and so I can do it on Friday, and then Monday he shows up, so I'm not sitting around.
Absolutely.
Contractors might just sitting around
You
waiting.
do it Monday morning if you want while he shows up at 10, right?
Actually, I misinterpreted that. I thought the way that it was set up was so that they would plan the installation a week ahead of time, and I could show up the day of installation, rather than having a 7-day window to show up and do the inspection within.
No, the idea is
Yeah, no, that's okay. That just means, yeah.
basically what the 7-day window is more about the fact that if they call you on the 1st, then you have until the 8th to inspect the hay bales, with the idea that they understand they can't start work until the 8th, because that's when, or until you've made the inspection. The idea being that we have such limited office hours that you may not be able to make it until the 8th in the morning.
Right.
So the idea is the 7-day window is so that everybody's aware that that's the inspection window. That's
So
the
then I can
intention.
put the hay bales like the
Right.
7th itself, or even the 8th itself.
Absolutely.
It's just the rest of the construction work following that can't commence until
Until we've
the
had the inspection.
inspections.
Right. Now, that's the next question, I just want to clarify, is that if he's unable to come on the 8th, can on the 9th, can we start? Or are we still waiting for him?
If he's unable to come on the 8th, we will find someone else who can come by and inspect the hay
Okay.
bales. So I appreciate the question about this, because others probably have had the same question and didn't voice it. So the commission must be notified at least 7 days prior to, must be provided 7 days notice for the inspection. I swear it used to say something different.
We probably did. I think I've been through that one 2 or 3 times. But since I had it backwards, I was flipping it.
And 7-day window.
Just trying to find a sequential order through the labyrinth, which, the next, if I may, Mr. Chairman,
Please go.
I'd like to just, as we're all talking about hay bales as the example, would like to go to condition during C5B, which states, the use of straw bales and hay bales is strictly prohibited for erosion control. Hay bales, we understand because of the nature of them, they will collect invasive seeds and so on, but straw bales have typically been understood not to do that. Although, I guess there's some evidence from California and Alaska that there may be something in that. So I would request that straw bales are fairly effective. I don't know that they would be somehow introducing invasive species into the project.
So I don't remember this one. Do you know?
No, that's new.
Okay.
So, as of, I think, '06, they have it, the MACC, they have a bunch of conditions to draw from. And, as stated, hay bales, don't use them. They're full of invasives, and it's adding a risk factor.
What's the MACC?
Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commissions. And then looking into that a little deeper, there are examples from California of invasives. It's the vegetative material is drawn from a field that may be seeded with other things.
Sure.
So,
Okay.
Even though, rice obviously isn't grown locally, you don't have that worry. Wherever it is shipped in from could just as easily as anywhere else have invasives. So,
Okay.
Can we
So,
put a condition that it's locally sourced?
well, yeah, but then the locally sourced invasives are brought in.
so let's go back one.
Okay.
What method were you hoping to use for erosion control? Were you planning to use hay bales and silt fence, or were you planning to use wattle?
It would be nice to be able to use the straw bales. We had straw bales specified on the plans, but I guess we'd have to go with wattles if straw bales are prohibited.
Well, no, that's why I'm asking what you wanted to do first. Did they mention straw bales specifically, or was that an ad?
How do you mean?
Well, it
Who's
says
they?
use of straw bales. Did MACC mention straw bales?
MACC only called this out, and this document was put together in '06.
Okay.
And so the things that I went online and poked around for were more recent than that.
Okay. So MACC suggested skipping hay bales, but they did not suggest skipping straw bales?
Right.
Okay.
They didn't mention that in terms of this. My position is that it's the same problem with a different vehicle for delivery. And so it doesn't really matter if MACC, didn't call it out, because the information they had at that point, wasn't as up to date as the newer information. And granted, there's West Coast, East Coast, and all that involved, but
Okay. So the only problem I have is that we didn't bring it up during the application and the discussion and when the plans were presented. If the plans showed straw bales on them, then we should have brought it up at that point. So I would accept crossing off the use of the word straw bales, so we prevent hay bales, but I don't have a problem with straw bales at this time. Is that acceptable for this order? Okay.
If,
We can still use wattles.
if I may, just. and I-
Wattles are absolutely accepted.
Yeah, yeah.
And I would think they're easier for the amount of space you're planning to do so.
Yeah, it just depends on how much you need the straw bales for the limit of work. Sometimes
Sure.
it's easier and more effective.
I just would like to go to the very next sub-item, which is during C5C, which talks, this makes the requirement a condition, erosion control measures shall be installed and maintained in accordance with U.S. Natural Resources Conservation Service recommended methods. I can't find that. I don't know where it is. If we may just revert back to the Massachusetts Erosion and Sediment Control Guidelines for Urban and Suburban Areas 2003 from the Department of Environmental Protection.
I don't have any problem with that.
Thank you.
The only reason I didn't agree to that is that Becky was using that in her other orders, and I'm assuming she had a reason.
She was using the U.S. Natural Resources Conservation Service recommended. It's interesting. Please read back what you just said, Kyle, so I can write it down.
The Mass DEP Erosion and Sediment Control Guidelines for Urban and Suburban Areas, 2003 edition.
Okay.
So, did you have a problem with ADM 7? Because, I mean,
ADM 7, that's where you were at, right?
yeah, so I was at ADM 7. I mean, we can read it. Members and agents of the Air Conservation Commission shall have the right to enter and inspect the premises to evaluate compliance with the conditions associated with DEP 100-0388 up to such a time that the certificate of compliance is issued. The Commission may require the submittal of any data deemed necessary by the Commission to determine whether the project is in compliance. Potential violations of perpetual conditions shall not grant the Commission or its agents passage over private property in any way inconsistent with the Commission's enforcement policy. I guess I'm not sure why that's inserted in there.
Hold on. So potential violations of perpetual conditions shall not grant the Commission or its agents passage over private property in any way that doesn't make sense.
So I'll tell you what I'm trying to do. Mr. Casey and our recent experiences there, I'm just trying to state that, we're not doing anything illegal. We're not going to be trespassing. That's all.
Because when you're given permission to enter the property, it ends at the point where your certificate of compliance issues.
Right. And then, but then, like, if there was a perpetual violation,
Right, you can't go marching in. Right. I think that makes sense.
and so the language is awkward and weird, and you're stating and then
Okay.
restating and then.
And
The
because
last-
it's talking
I
about
almost
right of
think you should
entry.
end it before you get to the last part of the sentence, which is the part that confuses.
Yeah, potential violations of perpetual conditions shall not grant the Commission or its agents passage over private property, period.
Period.
All right.
Okay, part A.
So, yes, thank you.
Okay, part A.
Because I want to address Part A, because that means that then you have to have a phone chain for us, and I'm not comfortable with this at all.
Okay. Part A, the Commission or its agents will not enter onto the premises during construction activities without giving verbal notice over the phone. Part I, subpart I, this notice may not be left as a voicemail. The commissioners or administrator must speak to a person who is actually on site at the time of the phone call. Subpart II, at least 1 hour's notice will be provided.
Okay. So I understand the idea, which is to make sure that we give notice. The question then would be, who's the appropriate person?
Right. And the idea with the phone call thing is simply that if we've got machinery working, if we've got something, potentially dangerous happening, you don't necessarily want to call Kyle, and Kyle hasn't been in the field for 3 hours, and the guy who is in the field, turns something back on.
What's your definition of potentially dangerous?
Well,
I mean, I'm assuming you don't want to put you or the commission or any member of
Right.
the commission in
Yeah.
charge
Right.
of means and methods and safety on the site.
right.
No. So, okay. Is there going to be a trailer?
I don't honestly know. I'd expect there might be, but I don't know that for sure.
For the work,
Yeah.
Yes,
but that'd probably be near where the solar facility would be, not near the culvert.
not by the
Not for the
entrance.
start.
Not gonna get there for a
Because
while.
just remember, this is related just to the crossing of the road
Right.
and that portion.
Well, if you're gonna have a trailer, you probably would have it right at the end of Rosewood, I would think.
No, most likely,
Right off.
it may be on the other side. That's what we're trying to do for Shirley as well, is on the other side. That's what the guys.
Well, it'll be a while then. So that, basically then the answer is no, there won't be a trailer during this construction because you won't have any place to put it.
The point of the question was, is there a door to knock on? That was the point of the question.
Okay.
Okay? So if no, there's no way to knock on a door without entering the property. Okay? So one of the ways that we've dealt with this in the past is that if you have a site person in charge, that person submits emails on a weekly basis, and there's a name and number of people to reach, then there's a whole phone list that we establish. So for instance, if there was the main reason this comes up is someone wants to go take a look at the site, or Brian says, you know what, I'm going to stop by every Wednesday. Well, that's pretty simple. If, however, Brian can't make it on Wednesday, he wants to stop by on Friday, he calls ahead and says, hey, I'm going to try for next Friday. I prefer that happen by email because that's not an emergency visit.
Right.
I don't have any problem with the language because it protects you folks from someone entering the property without permission. I guess the only thing I would say is that in process, what will most likely happen is we'll just swing by during the weeks when you're there on a certain day. So
I mean,
the
I
idea
think
would
the
be,
important thing is that whoever comes by there makes contact with whoever's doing the work on the site before they enter the site, so it's a safety issue.
I'm also assuming that there's a gate and it's closed because you don't want just anyone
Or the
entering the
machine's
property.
working and you see it and you wait at the side till you get his eye and he shuts the machine down.
Right.
Just to remember that there's no really space for the trailer in Rosewood unless.
That's fine. You don't need it. You don't
Right,
need
I mean,
it.
there's no real space
No.
until we cross the culvert, so,
Right.
and then most of this work is related to that portion of it.
Yeah.
And the
Okay.
other piece of it is just ask for the foreman or something, Brian, because obviously a lot of people who's.
So we'll leave AI and AII with the idea that the intention is just to provide notice.
That's the idea, and I think that
Okay.
it provides a mechanism to say, an alert to say, look, just communicate with somebody who's on site before you go out there. And that's good.
Upon arrival.
On arrival.
Yeah, I mean, try to reach out beforehand, before you arrive. Right. And
I
then,
think the idea would be that the primary visits would be by Brian, and you'd be notified in advance that he was showing up on Wednesdays.
That's the 7 days, right?
I'm just thinking, neighbor calls up and says there's something terrible going on, get right down here.
Well, I actually thought about mentioning that, right? Because you know what's going to be? It's going to be someone riding by on the rail trail, and they see something happening that they don't understand, and they call. That's what's going to happen weekly. So
So Cal just asked if that was under the 7 days?
How was really smart.
Okay. I didn't see that devilish grin.
You're allowed one of those.
Okay.
I'm-
We're at 7, so keep going.
We're at 7. I think we finished 7. We're at 8, which just says keep a copy of the order conditions on site at all times, of course. 9 says
You don't actually have to read them unless you have questions about it.
Well, so this,
Then I'm
again,
on.
I did have a question, I just want to clarify, because again, this is just clarification. When we're saying about the copy of the conditions, is when the conditions of this particular road being conducted, and at that point, then does the contractor feel comfortable, because when we start doing the solar array, I just want to make sure, even though they're separate projects.
I would accept
Yes.
that you would have all the orders of conditions for all the projects that everyone was working on within the scope of the area, because the last thing that we want to have is that we show up and the guy in the machine, and this has particular relevance in this room right now, has no friggin' idea what he was supposed to be doing and doesn't care.
Okay.
So everything should be on
I
site.
just want to make sure I clarify that with my contractors, that's
Yeah.
why I wanted
Yes.
to have it.
We should have every-
Again,
there
it's
should
the
be a
only
box
purpose
on
is the
site,
lack of
since there's going to be
clarity
a-
and
Don't overkill it, enough said,
Yeah.
give it a decision,
Okay.
to be here all
Let's read number 9. The only vehicles or equipment approved to enter or cross a wetland resource area at any time are those that shall be directly involved in the installation of the culvert and reconstruction of the stream bed. Any impacts caused to the wetland resource area by these vehicles not addressed by the current plan shall be addressed and rectified prior to the use of any vehicles over the culvert not associated with the downstream wetland replication work. So this is just trying to set up a gate to prevent any other disturbance or work taking place beyond the culvert until all the wetlands and resource area disturbances at the crossing are completed and stabilized. Is that right?
Yeah, because the fear would simply be that, you know, somebody goes in there, does something, it's a mess, and then it's not, you know, it's something forgettable because it's not addressed some other way. And whereas a normal order, you know, you've got the certificate of compliance to work with, but I don't expect the COC to ever really be an issue here. Like, they're not going to sell the bridge to the power. And so that's the only thing I can come up with that had any meaning.
Okay. But that would happen there, if there were problems, there would be regular inspections that you'd be out there for anyway.
Right.
This is maybe
That
redundant.
doesn't mean I can't go start clearing the trees
Well,
without
right, so-
making sure the replication is complete.
Right, so what I was trying to do there was set the replication off on its own, so that, you know, if there's a problem that somehow develops, that problem will be addressed before, you know, the power work goes in, but the replication then would keep going on its own. You know, and
Right,
hopefully
so-
the floating tool won't, you know, be an issue, but that was the idea.
So the intention is that the culvert is installed and the reconstruction of the stream bed is happened prior to the use of the new crossing, correct? Okay, they're one and the same, correct?
Or anything other than what's involved in building it.
In building that particular area. So, only vehicles, equipment approved to enter the cross, those to be directly involved, any impacts caused by wetlands use were not addressed in the current plan, should just rectified prior to the use of vehicles over the current are not associated with the downstream. Okay, so, does that make sense?
It does. It's a gatekeeper. It's to keep everything in sequence.
Right. Once you're done with the
Crossing.
final provisions for the crossing so that it is now safe and taken care of, we're, you know, obviously not looking for the replication to be completed at that time. The idea is that now you can move on to the next step.
Correct.
Okay.
ADM 10 talks about just changes to the order, or to the plan. It's approved on the order. And like you say, if we don't have an objection, not
Yeah.
intended to delay the commission, so I don't think there's an issue with number 10.
Okay.
Or 11, or 12. Just wanted to make a clarification on number 13, which reads, pumps, generators, or other stationary equipment containing fuel, oil, hydraulic fluid, or other potential contaminants shall not be stored or operated within the wetland resource area, buffer zone, or riverfront area without written approval from the commission, its agents, or commission-approved consultant/contractor. Equipment shall be located in a containment area on an impervious barrier. The barrier shall be of light color to allow observation of any liquid spillage. If spillage is observed, the equipment shall be taken out of service immediately. Perfectly reasonable, and I just want to point out that the clause that reads, without written approval of the commission, which the plans, these conditions, the sequence of construction, and all the documentation that's gone through is what's approved. That's our starting point. Anything that deviates from that then requires the reapproval of the commission, essentially. So for the pump that has to bypass the construction site into the dewatering structure,
Right.
is included in this approval,
Absolutely.
implicit in that. Okay.
The generator for that, if you can move it farther out, is obviously better because that's the device that you're going to be fueling. The pump, I'm assuming, is electric and
I don't
doesn't
know.
have any fluids or issues.
It may not, I don't know, honestly. It shouldn't, but.
Yeah, so that was just clarification, so we didn't have to come back to you for more approval.
No, the idea is that the equipment that you're using that's inside of the wetland buffer in the resource in that area is being operated appropriately, and if you have to do something different, just let us know what you're up to.
Okay.
No problem. I don't have a problem with number 14. I'd just like to read to make sure that we're all clear. It does apply to some of the subsequent conditions. All inorganic debris, so not trees and woods and soils. All inorganic debris shall be removed from the site, including pre-existing and construction-related debris. The applicant or his designee shall be responsible for removing and disposing of such materials and surplus soils promptly and properly to an off-site disposal area which complies with all federal, state, and local requirements and regulations. Records as to the destination of all materials, including stumps, brush, and excess fill, shall be kept and supplied to the commission if requested. Subpart A says the disposal of wet soils on site inside the riverfront buffer with appropriate erosion controls and permanent stabilization after completion of work has been approved by the commission. This is the result of specific requests that we made. I want to make sure that we're all clear on what this means as far as when we were in the field on the site walk, and which gosh, you didn't make it, but when we were out there, we were identifying there's going to be wet materials that are excavated both for the wetland replication and at the stream crossing. It would be ideal to keep some of that wet soils on site rather than haul it off somewhere. So there are areas, and we have a location designated on the plans that's on the east side of the stream crossing, somewhat to the south of where the proposed driveway is. So between that driveway and the pond proper, that would be ringed by silt fence, straw bales, so on, to be able to prevent any serious sedimentation coming off of that stockpile. So we also have then the benefit of the solar site up further upland, which we may be able to use for material management. So it's good that this language is in here. It talks about off-site disposal areas. So that certainly is off-site, being the site being everything that's in the resource area of this project. Just want to make that clarification. It's very important for us on this project because we have so many different varied materials, trees, brush, soils. AM 15, we have no issue.
Before you go on from that one, so records as to destination of all materials, stumps, brush, excess fill should be kept. Is that something you typically track?
No, I don't remember this one. I'm assuming this is something from MACC.
Yeah, I pulled it from somewhere. I was, fishing around trying to get all of the updated conditions, available and integrate
Can I
them.
just ask a question? Did you go fishing around in everybody's Google site to make this thing?
I don't think this is going to end the way you want it to.
Yeah,
So
no,
the
No, I understand. Just
no, you want to do it, we'll do it, but you're not going to like it. Your call.
It was an intelligent question.
We're working through it.
We're working through it. So I guess my
So
question.
the answer would be, if you're hauling off stumps, I'm assuming you have to keep records of that anyway, correct?
Yeah, I think that's got to go to a controlled site.
Right. So I believe the intention here was just so that the idea is if later on someone came back to us and they said, holy crap, they cut all those trees down, what'd they do with the stumps? We could say, well, it's in the order of conditions, we can ask.
But it's a responsibility of the contractor then to keep that record, and until somebody needs it, he just keeps it.
Correct. There's no intention for you to supply it to us on a daily basis.
I'm good with that.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, so pre-C1, there are no issues. We already talked about pre-C1D, and we clarified that language about notification 7 days prior.
Right. Yeah, I crossed it out and said, commission must be notified at least 7 days in advance of the inspection. That's what I did to make it simple.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, very good. Not really. Although I do have a question about pre-C1A, talking about biodegradable flags.
More recommended stuff, because half the time the flags are out there and forgotten and fall to the ground because flagging is required to stay out there until the COC is issued. And so you end up just with trash flags and leaf litter. And so if you're going to end up with trash and leaf litter anyway, you make it so that it's not going to last 1,000 years.
Okay, so if we don't ask for that when they flag it, we can't ask for them to go back and change it. So my feeling would be wetland boundaries must be clearly marked. Any repairs to be made with biodegradable flagging. So if you have to go back and reflag, please use biodegradable flagging if you reflag. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Do you have some, or have you used them in the past?
No.
Okay.
I'm assuming they're available. I don't even.
I'm assuming as well, but if we didn't ask for it in the first place, we can't ask for it now.
Yeah.
So
So if you just take out the
wetland
words
boundaries shall
clearly
remain,
marked-
shall be clearly marked,
So
period.
take out clearly, okay.
Yep, so they must be clearly marked, that's already happened,
Yeah,
right?
that's right, yeah.
Any repairs
Okay.
are to be made with biodegradable flags.
Okay.
And what you'll see in our toolkit coming out is that we request that you use biodegradable flags for future flaggings on projects.
Okay.
Right after we find a source, because we can't ask for somebody to do it unless we can find a source.
It's in there somewhere.
Moving on to during C1, no issue with that. We want the material brought in to be clean and debris-free and devoid of invasive plants. There had been a certification required that's been removed, and that makes perfect sense to us.
It also says sieve analysis of the soil shall be conducted
Upon request of the
upon
commission.
request of the commission or its agent.
I've never heard of that before.
That was Nick's idea.
In response,
Yeah.
Nick Pauling?
that was a negotiated.
Who are you guys?
Isn't that?
Yeah, that was his idea.
Start over. Nick Pauling.
So during C1.
That's you.
Yeah. We can still cross it out. I'll
So-
answer. That's all right. Kyle and I can take it.
So the idea there simply is that when you get a load
No,
of
I get it.
material
I
in,
get
you
it.
can't vouch for it in any way.
Yep, I get it.
And, you know, I put in, you need somebody to vouch for it. And Nick was like, who in the world is going to vouch for it? They don't have vouchers for this. You know, even the people that vouch for the vouchers don't vouch for this. And it was like, so you could do this, and then if you suspect something, you can get it vouched for. But, so.
Nick fought that one and gave in.
The problem with this is, I mean,
How
it
often?
means you've got to have a source
Well,
identified.
so-
They have to have a sieve analysis done.
So I want to cross this off.
All right.
And the reason I want to cross it off is A, I don't expect to do it. And B, I think it's onerous.
All right. You know, it is still, so the problem simply becomes, you know, the fill that you get, you know, you condition it to your heart's content, and it doesn't matter because, you know, wherever it comes from, it comes from.
Well,
But any
we can
fill
talk about that, but
specification should be on the plan,
Should be.
based on what we've done.
Right.
the other problem that you run into is, so saying that any fill brought on site will be clean, debris-free, and devoid of invasive plants or their seeds is, I'm not aware of that being possible unless it's sand.
But so
And even
like,
sand can have invasive seeds in it.
that's true. That
So-
again is a piece of, you know, I pulled that from elsewhere. Other conditions that were saying, you know, this is how you do this. I just copy pasted that. So somebody somewhere decided that they could do it.
Well, no, somebody somewhere stated that it's possible, but that somebody somewhere has obviously never gone and bought a load of fill. So that's the
Right.
next problem.
During C2, all construction vehicles must be cleaned and so on. No problem there. During C3,
Do we have a, I'm sorry to interrupt, do we have a rumble strip on the way in?
We
Because
do have
our
a-
construction-
I thought so. Right. Okay.
During C3, in order to prevent the spread of invasive species from one portion of the project site to another, construction vehicles may not enter locations infested with invasive species.
Okay, let's
Yeah,
stop there
that's just
then.
a copy paste.
Do we have areas like that on the project that we're aware
It's a
of?
small enough piece that it's all gonna be churned anyway.
So no.
So no.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's irrelevant.
Strike.
Thank you. During C4, during construction reporting, the applicant or designee shall report in writing to the Air Conservation Commission prior to the commencement of construction, comma, every 30 days during construction, comma, and for as long thereafter as the ground remains unstable, as well as, or unstabilized maybe, as well as upon completion of the project. These reports shall include an update on the status of the erosion controls, what work within 100 feet of wetlands or within 200 feet of perennial streams has been completed to date, and what work is proposed for the next month.
So I would see this as, I would see this more likely as an email from the folks on site or from yourselves, just basically saying that work is completed on the road. I don't think anyone's looking for, so.
It's a summary, it's not necessarily some formatted report. Okay.
The idea is we're still working, we're here, this area's been seeded, this area's been prepped. so that we could follow along with the progress and be able to tell where you were in the process.
Didn't I say every 30 days?
It does say every 30 days. The way we had done it in the past was weekly.
Yeah, something.
So,
Yeah, 30 days on project, the scope is
It'll be
gonna be
done.
all done.
I was just going to say, so let's change 30 to 7, please.
Okay.
And shall report in writing, let's change in writing to by email. So that way it's super easy.
During C5, I mean, I don't think that there's an issue here. I guess some of the, but maybe I should read it. Soil erosion and deposition into wetland resource areas shall be prevented at all times by effective control methods. The applicant shall implement the methods indicated in the reference notice of intent and as specified below. The minimum required erosion control barriers shall consist of a state compost filter sock wattle as inspected and approved by the commission or its agent before work commences. To minimize wildlife entanglement and plastic debris pollution, temporary erosion and sediment control products that utilize netting must contain netting manufactured from 100% biodegradable non-plastic materials such as jute and sisal fiber, degradable, photodegradable, UV degradable, oxo-degradable, or oxo-biodegradable plastic netting, including polypropylene, nylon, polyethylene, and polyester, are not acceptable alternatives. Natural materials sourced from outside the U.S. must be certified to be free of invasive species. Netting used in these products should have a loose weave, wildlife-safe design with mobile joints between the horizontal and vertical twines, allowing the twines to move independently to reduce the potential for wildlife entanglement. Avoid the use of silt fences reinforced with metal or plastic mesh. When no longer required, temporary erosion and sediment control products should be promptly removed.
I don't have a problem with the last one.
Well, but don't we
So-
have to have the order
You do have to have that,
signed
so
before that can happen?
yes. You have to have the certificate of compliance before they can be removed. So actually, I have an issue with the last line. So let's go back. So I would say, what were you intending to use for the project? For erosion control?
It's either straw bales, silt fence, or wattles.
Wattles.
Okay. So the nice thing about silt fence is I don't anticipate any wildlife entanglement, so that's simple. So I guess the next question becomes, if you use the wattles, have you used a specific kind in the past that you've been happy with? I know there are different kinds. There's the
Different contractors use different kinds.
right. There's the plastic mesh, which is a mess, and it's a bugger to get out of there later.
Yeah.
And then there's the is that the green? Right? Isn't that the green stuff?
Yeah.
Which is great.
It'll grow.
Core. The core. COI.
Yeah, goes away.
Yeah.
So, state to suspected minimize wildlife entanglement. So, I think we're going to work on our language in everything from to minimize wildlife entanglement, to avoid the use of silt fences reinforced with metal or plastic mesh. I think we're gonna cross that out for now until we can figure out a better way to phrase that. And the last sentence, cross off when no longer required, should say temporary erosion and sediment control products should be promptly removed upon issuance of COC.
Yeah, I don't think we disagree with the intent of any of that. I think the big question is just going to be about
Right, it's about implementation.
Just curious.
The sequence of this construction is a little bit tricky because we have the process that will be coming through the commission later, through the health department issuing a threat of the beaver dam.
Sure,
and
sure.
the beaver dam will be removed and that material will be taken away. And so then what we'll be left with is channel and two banks and we will need to be able to de-water the channel area, so we will need to be able to get to the other side of the bank and do work on the other side of the stream.
We talked about that with that specific machine that the fella has, right?
Well, that's with the removal of the beaver dam, that's correct.
Sure.
Okay, but when that process is done of removing that debris, then it's a matter of having to create some kind of upstream, according to the bathymetric survey, there's a little bit of a depression in front of the beaver dam currently. When all that gets pulled out of there, we're not exactly sure what what the residual is gonna look like.
Sure.
So we'll need to create some kind of a small impoundment upstream to be able to put in a suction line and then to run the pump line to the silt sack.
Well, you guys did that.
We did that.
You identified in the
There's a
survey
depression there, yeah.
that there's that depression there.
There is how they rotted to find that. I mean, I
I'm
don't
sure it's
know
to the
exactly what it
centimeter, but
looks like.
let's face it, there's a depression there.
There should be a depression there, so that's an ideal location. But the point remains, we're gonna have to be in the stream, on the other side of the stream, to do the work, to do that dewatering process. But that's all part of the construction of the culvert, that work. So I don't think that that's an issue. Do you have a specific question?
Well, no, can we start the construction of that portion, because with the culvert and all that, without having these erosion controls on the other side of the river, or of the beaver dam, is what
Well, we have to have
No,
those
they've got
controls in
erosion
place.
controls in.
The
Yeah.
controls have to
Controls
be
go in
place.
first.
The controls go in before even starting the break and
Right.
the beaver dam.
No.
Right.
Well, you'll need some controls downstream of the beaver dam to control what debris comes
What happens
out.
after the beaver dam is removed?
Right.
I think the way that we're going to deal with that, as discussed during previous meetings, is that the gentleman who does this for a living and has the special tool and has the special equipment that comes in and does this,
Yeah.
he's going to come in and we're going to have a meeting on site and he's going to talk about what he's going to do, and we're all going to feel really comfortable at that point, because the reality is that it all, unfortunately, it will end up out of sequence by definition, but as long as we have a plan and we can work together on it, we'll be fine.
Okay, that's all I wanted to make sure.
A lot of the rationale behind the acceptance of the program was that GPR would be on site for a lot of this really tricky work that happens, and that a special contractor who's done this in the past would be available to do that work. So a lot of what we're going off on here is the experience and the relevance of the people who are doing the work.
The rest of this, during C5, all these subsections.
So, Tom Gibbons, this is one of his reasonablys. Under E, where it says, "The commission may require the applicant to employ additional erosion and/or damage prevention measures as it deems necessary." He would like to say, "as it reasonably deems necessary."
Is it reasonably deemed necessary?
Yeah,
So he's suggesting we're unreasonable?
he's suggesting
That
that
you- something
you're
maybe.
very reasonable, and this proves it.
And look, you wrote it down.
And then on G, his suggestion is, that one says, "Any failure of erosion control measures resulting in deposition of soils," and He wants to say, "upon the discovery of any failure of erosion control," which I think is actually helpful.
So upon the discovery of.
Right. to
I
start.
agree with that. However, I would also change reported to the Conservation Commission office at 978 and at, what's your email address?
Concom.
Concom at air.us.
ma.us.
Yeah.
That's far better than the telephone,
Yeah.
for that sort of
Anyway,
thing.
then you have record of it.
Well, also that way it can, somebody will have a better shot at catching that before maybe a message.
So now I've got 3, as soon as reasonably practical. One is on H, "the applicant shall take steps as soon as reasonably practical to control any erosion that occurs on site." I, the cause of
So are we
erosion-
suggesting that if there's a hurricane, you're going to wait it out?
That's exactly right.
Most likely.
Unbelievable.
I know. I is the last sentence, the cause of erosion sedimentation shall be addressed as soon as reasonably practicable. And that's instead of immediately.
I just crossed it out.
And then for N, I think we still have the same ones. We have
Yes,
N,
yes.
yeah. That starts with as soon as reasonably practicable following any storm season. So that's Florida language.
This is November, N.
That's all I have.
Okay. So during C6, erosion control devices and wetland flags shall remain in place until all disturbed surfaces have been permanently stabilized and a certificate of compliance is signed by the commission. So that's the signing by the commission of the certificate of compliance. Then it says biodegradable erosion controls may be broken up and spread on site, but not within any wetland resource area or conservation easement. Any non-biodegradable material approved for use must be removed and discarded off-site. The erosion control devices must be removed by the applicant prior to final issuance of the certificate of compliance.
Cross the last sentence.
Okay. Thank you. During construction, soil stockpiles and fill storage conditions harkens back to the previous administrative condition talking about the stockpiling of soils. During C7 says at no time shall debris or other material be buried or disposed of within the buffer zone other than that fill which is explicitly allowed in this order and is shown on the reference plans. I agree with that. I guess I don't want that to generalize to obviously the select fill. That might be brought
Right,
in
it sounds
for bedding,
counterintuitive, but it makes sense.
yeah, it does. During C8, excavated earth and other materials taken from the impacted wetland and intended for reuse within the replication area, if stockpiled within the 200-foot riverfront or 100-foot wetland buffer, shall be stockpiled within the footprint to be approved by the commission.
Okay, hold on. So excavated earth and other materials taken from the intended for reuse is stockpiled. Will be stockpiled. All right, so let's just change that to, so the intention is that you put it where we discussed and noted on the plan.
Right.
So excavated material intended for reuse shall be stockpiled within the footprint approved by the commission.
Approved by the commission, thank you.
Right.
Yes.
Shall be stockpiled within the footprint approved by the commission
Yes.
and shall be stabilized.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. During C9, all fill not drawn from the site itself, stumps, brush, logs, rubbish, construction debris, excavated materials, construction equipment, vehicles, and construction materials, i.e. gravel, bentonite, etc., if permitted to be stored on site, shall be stored in a designated location approved by the commission. I think that it's probably fair since we have not designated stockpile areas for, say, stone that might be for bedding for the culvert.
Right.
So that would be a field fit as construction progresses. During C10, any soil stockpiles that will remain on site for longer than 2 weeks must be fully covered with an impermeable material and seeded with the same mixture of seeds already intended for use within the replication area and/or the upstream area that will be seeded in accordance with condition project 1.
So before you go any farther, that seems onerous.
Yeah. So what that's from is, it's just a carryover from a general construction. We've got soil stockpiling, you have to look after it. And Kyle pointed out the seed thing wouldn't work. And so I was like, all right, so I tossed the seed thing and left the permeable up. And then Kyle said, oh, you might want to keep the seed. So I said, oh, all right. And in our discussions about what to do with the dewatered pond, they're going to go to probably New England Wetland Plan and get seed material. And so I was like, all right, if you're buying that already, just use it there too.
I guess the
It's circular
Excuse me.
logic back to wherever you buy the seed from for the one job, do it for that one too.
So I think what we're referring to are soil stockpiles that are jurisdictional or because of this project.
Right.
Okay. So I would say, yeah,
About 30 days instead of 2
yeah, I was thinking a month. I mean, I don't anticipate you're going to have one.
What's the total timeline for the whole?
Well, the other more
culvert and
important, the other more important part is that the material's going to come out and it's going to be stockpiled and it's going to be in an area that's contained, that has its own.
I mean, the only reason this would matter is if something disastrous happened and there was a big gap in something and you left with a big old pile of soil sitting there.
Okay. I don't like the impermeable material, but I have no problem with if it's going to sit for more than 30 days, you seed it. I don't know any other way to do it. So, any soil stockpiles that remain on site for longer than 30 days must be seeded. Must be seeded with the same mixture of seeds already intended for use in the replication area.
Okay. During C11, there shall be no direct discharge of stormwater runoff into streams or other wetland resource areas. Runoff from the site shall be directed overland to maximize groundwater recharge and cleansing of the runoff through contact with natural soils and vegetation. Discharges from the perimeter drains shall be at least 25 feet from the wetland resource area.
So in this case, we don't have any perimeter drains, so we're going to cross that one because that's just not specific.
It's a leftover.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
was doing both of these at the same time, so just to shorten the next conversation, anything in here that shifts, they'll just carry over.
Yep. Okay. I think we were skipped on C12.
Are you sure? Let's
I've seen it.
Yeah, okay.
The applicant issued designee shall report any runoff problems concerns immediately upon discovery of same to the Air Conservation Commission. That's Tom.
And I would
Betty.
probably add in the email reference then too.
I was gonna.
Yep.
Upon discovery of same to the Air Conservation Commission at and what was it again? Concom at air.ma.us.
Next one's carryover too. Okay, probably already have across that.
Upon completion of this project and within 2 years of the completion of the wetland replication, the owner's designee shall submit to the following to receive a certificate of compliance. Letter requesting, written statement certifying the work has been completed, and as-built topographic plan. Yeah, that's a carryover, that's the standard.
Yep. Okay, we're in the wetland application. Wetland 1 just restates the disturbance and the replication areas at 2767 and 4766 respectively. Replication guidelines kept on site. Wetlands 3, any damage caused as a direct result of this project to any wetland resource area shall be the responsibility of the applicant to repair, restore, and replace. Sedimentation or erosion into these areas shall be considered damage to wetland resource areas. If sediment reaches these areas, the commission shall be contacted and a plan for abatement of the problem and proposed restoration mitigation measures shall be submitted for approval and implementation. Sounds okay?
It does. It's repetitious.
Mm-hmm.
11.4, the Conservation Commission must approve any exploratory work for wetland destruction or replacement that does not meet the exemption standards set out in 310 CMR 10.
All right, hold on.
Exploratory work for wetland destruction.
All right, so the MACC Fall Conference had a big presentation on wetland replication failing. Like some 80%, 75% replications fail. So two consultants got up who do wetland replication primarily for their living and said, at the bottom of this slide, we will put in lessons we have learned from our own failed replications, and you can adapt them for your own conditions. So I just used them all.
Okay, I just don't understand approving exploratory work. I don't know what that means.
So in this case, let's just say the place that the replication has been approved to go in, for some reason, doesn't end up working out. You know, let's just say it's all, I don't know, ledge underneath there, and digging that out becomes ridiculous. So then you want to move the replication area, and rather than just saying, oh yeah, go ahead, do that, there's, you know, come back, there's exploratory work, there's an approval of the process. It's that kind of idea.
Okay, so I understand what the thought behind it is.
The language is awful.
With the idea that basically you'd be amending the application, and that's what we're talking about here. So if you wanted to do exploratory work to amend the application, you would speak to us first.
So here's my issue with that, is we're on site, we start installing it, we've got our hydric soil ready to go and covered and everything, we start digging, we find ledge.
Yeah,
We
something
can't
else.
use that. I don't wanna stop, wait 10 days until you have your next meeting, come into here, discuss it with you, try and figure out what we're gonna do, and then do it 11 days later. I mean, I would rather call Brian and say, come on out and look at this with us, or call you and say, come on out and look at this with us with Brian, and make a decision on what we're gonna do, where the best place to
Well,
put it.
aren't we supposed to have a scientist out there the whole time?
Right.
Where is that again? Where is that?
Is he actually gonna be on site the whole time? I thought he was
That's
just
7.
gonna-
Yeah,
That's,
Supervising scientists shall have the authority to make field adjustments to the submitted plans during construction of the wetland replication area in order to meet mitigation goals and to ensure the development of a functioning wetland ecosystem.
so doesn't that cover it?
So I think what, to that end, if we were doing wetland replication and there wasn't going to be a person on site who was a qualified scientist to make those decisions, then the wetland 4 would apply. In this particular case, where there's going to be someone on site, and that's been the intention since the beginning, we're covering it on wetland 7, where the idea would be we just need to include notes that say field adjustments may include but are not necessarily limited to changes, right? That those would be documented for the commission post-use during the project.
And then,
Does that make sense? So,
yeah, the
commission to be notified of changes instigated by field conditions and managed by the supervising scientist.
So somebody write that down.
I do this all the time. No one writes it down. Okay, so I'm crossing 4. Okay,
That already meant some stuff.
and we're going to say that supervising scientists have the authority to make changes based on the specific conditions, changes instigated by field conditions to be field adjustments, right? So changes instigated by field conditions to be documented and provided to commission. I want to say, well, we used the word reasonable a couple of times, didn't we?
Oh.
Love that word.
Within a reasonable time frame. Okay.
Wetland 5, if I may.
Sure.
Surface elevation data will be represented in 1-foot intervals and plans, plan view when such information is presented or recorded. Is this just applying to the as-built of the, or is there intermediate reporting that this is applying to?
I don't think there is any intermediate reporting.
Okay.
Would be the as-built.
As-built, okay.
So,
Well, the interim reports that are called out, in some cases, it may be appropriate for, you know, something with elevation. And the reason for this, that, you know, I remember explicitly from that meeting they called out as being, there's so much that goes on in a wetland replication where there's very little variance in elevation that to make any meaningful pictures, you know, you have to be at 1 foot. So, you know, depending on, you know, what ends up going into any of those interim reports, That's the reasoning behind it, because otherwise you end up with a relatively misinterpretable image.
So what we're saying is that if there are changes made, that the grade changes are so slight that you have to be at 1 foot intervals in order to represent them.
That's fine.
Okay.
We did the plans at 1 foot intervals anyway.
Right, all your topo is 1 foot.
Yeah.
So I guess what I would say in this particular case is when data is presented or reported, unless there are substantial changes necessary to be made, there's really nothing to report until the data that's submitted for the COC. We're not looking for intermediate topo.
Right. Well, and actually that was part of the things that ended up getting dropped that was recommended for the larger replication projects is intermediary aspects to keep track of things. And so that did get dropped in the discussion I had with Nick. And so that probably has more to do with intermediary and just got orphaned in meaning.
So I would say that wetland 5 can be crossed so as to reduce confusion, because wetland 5 as a condition is actually part of the COC conditions.
Right.
Wetland 6, construction of the wetland replication area will occur under the direct supervision of an experienced and qualified wetland or soil scientist approved by the commission, hereafter referred to as the supervising scientist.
Ooh.
The supervising scientist shall submit several plans and reports. At a minimum, this will include the following: invasive species monitoring and control plan, interim report 1, interim report 2, post-construction report, replication monitoring reports, and a final report. The supervising scientist shall determine the final number of installed devices.
No, that's left over from the piezometers and stuff,
That's
which that got dropped because
strike E.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm okay with striking everything except C, which is the post-construction report,
Okay.
and D, the replication monitoring and the final report, because that's part of the COC.
And does the commission approve Dave Crossman as a supervising scientist?
We certainly do.
Okay. So striking A and striking B.
Striking A and B and E. So we're left with C and D, and we can make note that Mr. Crossman will be the supervising scientist. I expect him to get a hat that says that.
Well, you have a shirt that says King. so you
King.
can have that. I've been holding that all night.
Well timed.
So wait a second, before you go into which reports did you cross off? Because there are some conditions that specify what will be contained in each report. And so you've just deleted several conditions descending down from that one.
Yeah, A and B, I think. First and second.
1 and 2, interim reports 1 and 2, basically.
And the invasive species.
The invasive
monitoring.
species.
I think if we have a supervising scientist on site who, so if we were doing hundreds of acres of replication work, that might make sense, but you remember this area is about the size of this room, and there's going to be a supervising scientist on site for and I don't mean to belittle it, day that it happens. So I don't know that
You
an
wouldn't have
interim
enough time
report
to write them all up. Yeah.
or the invasive species are going to matter at that moment.
But just keep that in mind as you go through there. You may have just struck pages of,
I will be so disappointed.
the trees, I think.
So we have talked about wetland 7 and added language in there for field changes. Wetland 8 says Conservation Commission will be invited to observe the replication area at each of the following replication construction.
We're crossing that one off.
Wetland 9, upon completion of the box culvert, the following criteria must be met. A, the area the replicated wetland will be constructed in is to be excavated prior to any vehicles not related to the wetland replication being allowed to use the newly constructed culvert unless otherwise directed by the Conservation Commission.
So stop there.
It's a gatekeeper.
The area of the replicated wetland will be constructed in the area
That it will be constructed.
that it will be constructed in is to be excavated prior to any vehicles not related to wetland replication being allowed to use the newly constructed culvert. All right. Does that make sense for your construction sequence?
I mean,
I thought we just talked about that we'll just do the bed stream and the culvert, and then the replication piece was separate. Now you're saying it's not separate. We have to do the replication piece.
Right, you have to do the excavation.
We're
So the-
defining the sequence to be, the culvert gets done, then the replication is done.
Started,
then-
not done, just started. Because
Well,
it says
it's-
excavation, it doesn't say planting or soil deposition or anything like that.
So that excavation must be done first, following the completion of the culvert and the stabilization in the stream bed and the.
And what was you thinking on doing that?
So the lesson that came out of this was that,
It's the same discussion about keeping it moving and
well, the discussion is that when you allow for replication, oftentimes projects leave that to the end. And we've got a handful kicking around town where their quote unquote replication work hasn't been done yet and they've done 99% of the
And
project.
they don't have a letter of compliance.
Right. But they'll just, whatever, they'll walk away from it.
But actually,
That doesn't typically, especially in your case, wouldn't have any effect whatsoever. Because there's not going to be a bank loan that's held up because of it or a house sale, which is really the only thing that the COC seems to be is the panic-stricken attorney's note to us on a Friday that they needed for Monday.
Right. So the only thing that has of value is the project that's going to go in on the other side.
We're pragmatic.
So the only, to get the project rolling, and say, oh, we'll replicate that after the delivery trucks go through, or oh, we'll start digging after, it's
So
dig
you
it
were thinking
out.
of it from a behavioral standpoint. I was thinking of it from going in, excavating this area right next to the stream with a 12-inch barrier being withheld from excavation,
Yeah, no, it's
and then
behavior.
leaving it.
No.
Here's what-
Hoping the
here's
stream
what I
doesn't
kinda
flood
think-
it, and when it does flood, then you're screwed.
Here's what I kind of think
Over.
Wetland 9 should say. Number 9 should say, upon completion of the box culvert, the area of the replicated wetland construction must be completed within 30 days.
That's simple.
And
It's a
that
decent-
should take care of all the
Understand.
interim reporting and all the other parts.
And did you say, and I didn't follow the language, the area, of the replicated wetland will be constructed?
Will be completed within 30
Completed
days,
within 30 days.
right? Because the intention is to force the completion and the start of work before the next part happens. So rather than quibble about the when and the where or what truck is available to go over
So
the,
just say, be done with it. and
going to be
then-
done within 30 days, and that should be well within the reasonable time frame that it was going to happen anyway.
So you can do two things at once, basically. You can still do the clearing
Right.
and do
Get it
that
done within
project
30
while
days.
you're still doing it.
So
Right?
what do you-
So in other words, we're not going to get to the end of the project and wonder why it's not finished.
So, I have a question.
So, oh,
As
sorry,
we
go
get
on.
further along on wetlands, we talk about planting operations should be performed during periods when the planting season and weather and soil conditions are suitable, as determined by the supervising scientist, typically April 15th to June 15th, September 15th to November 15th.
You better hurry.
September, and so our
Well,
window.
typically, if the weather's different, if we have a
So-
looking here.
It's
All right,
under-
hold on a sec. Where did
It's under wetlands, I don't know what the number is, I got 16 that we may have. So I guess my question is, which one governs, or do we want to make it within that timeframe?
Wetland 15H.
Right. We want to say within 30 days, so long as that 30, or as soon as possible within the date specified.
I
So if
mean,
we do it in August, you don't want to plant in July or August, right? We're not gonna-
Well, presumably, this would require that it begin as soon as possible within that time window of September 15th to November 15th, so it's got to be completed by
October 15th?
October 15th.
well, so the point of that, again, it's one of those lifted lessons. A lot of folks who come in don't know when to plant. And so you have to give them that. And so this is, boilerplate wetland.
So if the soil scientist looks at it.
Yeah, he's like, yeah,
and he
this is
says,
perfect.
yeah, it's a good time, and you've got plenty of water supply
Yeah.
coming from the stream.
Yeah, I mean, the language I use was, typically this window, but
Okay,
atypical is,
So I guess we're good with 30
Yeah.
days then. I just didn't want there to be a conflict
Unless,
between it.
yeah,
Unless the soil scientist
Unless
says no. in which
Yeah.
case-
unless-
superseded by the soil scientist.
Yeah, in which case nobody's gonna argue with them, we're all gonna say, yeah, you're lost.
right. I do want to backtrack though to the 30-day comment. What are we counting off 30 from? What counts as 1? Is that replication going to be done within 30 days after the first shovel drops? Or
No,
after
upon
the culvert
completion.
goes
Completion
in?
of the box
Says
culvert.
upon completion of the
So
box
as soon as we
culvert.
Okay,
start-
sorry.
Since we start running equipment over the box culvert,
Okay.
So,
Strangely enough, you lost me for a second there.
So let's jump back one step. So again,
A little bit.
being pragmatic, we're saying that the best planting season is September 15th through November 15th. Okay? So, right, certainly better than July 15th to August 15th. Okay? So I think what probably makes the most sense is, assuming that you're still going to be working on site, is that the condition in this particular instance, based on where we are in the year, should read that the completion of the replicated wetland would be done by October 15th.
Okay.
That way we've put 30 days on September 15th. We can't miss. Has to be done by October 15th.
Will that work with the schedule? You know, if you put the culvert in and you get across and you start that, I mean,
Yeah,
Well,
we'd
don't
be
forget-
earlier than that. If
They're going to start on it right away because the machine's there.
right, but
Okay.
the 30-day thing we just created.
That's why I just changed it. That's what I'm saying. I just went back
Oh.
and I said, upon completion of the box culvert, that the replicated wetland. So in other words, specific to this site and taking into account the planting season, say it needs to be done by October 15th. It's also my wedding anniversary.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty exciting.
So the way that I'm hearing it that was confusing me is that you
I won't forget it.
therefore would be saying that the box culvert will be finished on the 15th of September. If you're saying that the replication.
No. I'm saying the box culvert could be done tomorrow. I'm saying that the wetland replication needs to be done by October 15th. So in other words, what I'm saying is, instead of applying a 30-day or you can't do any work without this, what I'm saying is, I'm giving you until October 15th to complete the wetland replication, simply because if they do the wetland replication now and the plants die, that's not helpful. If they do the wetland replication at the end of August and the plants die, that's not helpful. But if they do the wetland replication between now and October 15th,
Right. And apologies for the mush brain. But if they finish the box culvert tomorrow and they have 30 days to complete.
so I eliminated the 30 days and just went
Okay.
with the October 15th. In other words, putting a hard boundary on when it has to be done, that also accommodates the planting thought.
Porridge brain sorted. Good.
Okay. That also, you're right, ends like 7 of these. So,
B,
so actually, in fact, you know what? I'm going to even eliminate the expression upon completion of the box culvert and just say that the replicated wetland must be constructed by October 15th.
the box culvert's not in by then, we're in deep trouble.
Yeah, it's not going to matter at all. Okay, so that fixes 9.
the rest of 9 is then stricken.
Yes. What's micro-topography work?
Sub 1 foot interval, swales, hills, rollers. When you're dealing with, in this case, it's probably a really poor place to use it because we're going to have beaver ponding anyway, and so that'll all be eliminated. But when you're dealing with crafting, hydrology, you know, that sort of subgrade stream, you know, if you look at the way the water flows underground, that's what that's targeted at.
I don't see how 10 hurts you.
Not contested.
Okay, 11.
Prior observation of the wetlands to be impacted, native plants within the impacted wetland shall be salvaged to the greatest practicable extent to be replanted in the replication wetland.
Okay, so I don't remember that anywhere in our discussions.
I mean, you know, this is just one of those things that they said to make something succeed. You know, you want to take as local plant stock as you can find. And if you're digging a bunch of stuff up anyway, you know, keep it. And if we didn't discuss it, it's not fair, so be it.
No. The idea being that I don't think we're going to be removing any native plants that we'd want to transplant anyway. Because the area that we're going to be dismantling is the beaver dam itself.
Well, and the little bit of, you know, the grassy area leading up to the stream itself. Coming off of Rosewood, you've got to go through the bushes a little bit to get the stream.
Right, Mr. Crossman identified those as invasive species that nonetheless counted as upland
Lots
species.
of them are invasive.
All right, let's based on the specificity of this, I don't have any problem leaving this in with the idea that there aren't going to be native plants that you can salvage. I'm happy to strike it if you'd like,
You know,
but
and that's
I
the
don't think we're in a
supervising
position,
scientist
it
again.
says practicable, and I don't think that applies.
Okay. Wetland 12,
No, we're saying we just leave it because it doesn't apply.
well, then we should strike.
You can strike it if you'd like.
All right, we'll strike. Wetland 12, the wetland topsoil should be deposited in the replication area in a manner that minimizes travel and subsequent compaction of the pit and mound subgrade. Should, part A, should soils be compacted, they will be loosened by methods such as rototilling at the discretion of the supervising scientist. B, approximately 12 inches of soil will be placed within the replication area to bring grades to the final desired elevations. Soils to be used.
All right, hold. What was the point?
Well,
12 inches of soil.
Why are we loosening soil and adding 12 inches of soil?
so the loosening soil in replications, one of the things that happens that ruins the replication is people driving the machinery in the replication area. And then the 12 inches is ensuring that you've got enough organic material to actually create soil, as opposed to just digging down to mineral soil or bedrock or whatever's underneath. You want to have some organic material to work with, and 12 inches is enough that you can expect to be successful in your work.
Okay.
So I guess.
So I can see if we published these as standards in the past before this project started, that we would be able to indicate that these were standards that the applicant could be held to.
Right, and this is a discussion that Nick and I had, that the folks who wrote these originally, when I sent them my first draft, they said the same thing. They said this would be better suited as a regulation. They didn't say, like, you can't do it, or this is a bad idea, or you're crossing the line. But they did say it would be better if you could have got this out into some kind of guiding document ahead of time.
So what I would say might make more sense is that the wetland topsoil should be deposited in the replication area per the direction of the supervising scientist.
Yeah, which I think is the case in any case, whether you say it or not, that's how it's gonna happen.
Right.
Right.
And then,
Our science mommy is going to have a lot to say about this.
Yeah, they're gonna direct everything that happens on the site.
and then what I would say is that we could then choose to incorporate this language into a regulation so that future applicants would understand that going in.
Right. I'm going to take this whole thing essentially and make it into a checklist or a guiding document or something, so that, we don't do this anymore.
Well, I don't think it's a bad idea, but it has to be part of the original design so that people know what they're getting into.
Right. And that was the point that everybody else raised as well.
Wetland 13, rocks and boulders uncovered during the excavation of the replication area shall be left within the replication area upon approval from the supervising scientist, provided that they do not significantly decrease the plantable area of the mitigation. Excuse me. These rocks and boulders should be placed in such a way as to provide crevices and cavities suitable for use by wildlife. A, this material should be distributed to cover roughly 5 to 10% of the replication area's substrate surface. B, fallen logs, branches, and other natural debris existing within the proposed impact areas or other upland areas proposed to be disturbed will be relocated to the replication area to provide beneficial habitat features for wildlife. C, the woody debris should be at varying stages of decay and should be randomly placed to provide habitat features as directed by the supervising scientist.
So for the purposes of this application, since it wasn't extended to you before, I would scratch everything after upon approval from the supervising scientist. So rocks and boulders uncovered during excavation of the replication area shall be left within the replication area upon approval from the supervising scientist. The other stuff is great, but we can incorporate it into a future handbook topic.
And that's the conversation that if Nick were here, he'd be doing the same thing.
Well,
Like,
I have a
what
feeling
would
we're doing this 2 more times, so.
Oh no, we're just the once will be enough, because all of this will just carry into the other.
The next one's gonna be a piece.
Well, I want to do them all one at a time. Go.
Okay. Wetland 14, prior to planting, the supervising scientist should inspect the final grades of the replication area to ensure that the proper hydrology has been established and should provide the commission with written confirmation and photographs of same within a reasonable time period following completion of the final grading work.
So I would accept a report from the scientist, which I think makes sense. So this would be in line with the interim reporting, not so much interim during the stages of doing the wetland replication, but it would be interim as compared to, hey, look, Mom, the project's done.
Right.
It would be, hey, I've done the wetland replication, here's photographic evidence of how we did it, and, we followed the grading plan, et cetera. So,
So Commissioner, there's the two items in the report that we did not cross off on page 10. It said post-construction report, and the other one's called replication monitoring report and final report. So that would be considered.
What are you talking about?
I mean, I'm back on page 10.
I know, but which one?
On the.
he's on wetland 6, so remember we
number
said,
D. Yeah, C, we kept C, we eliminated D and E, correct?
No, we
we eliminated A and B,
A, B, and
A, B, and E,
So
right?
D
Alpha,
is still
Bravo,
there.
Edgar.
So
Right.
C, which is the post-construction report, and D, the replication monitoring report, final report.
and a final report. So there's your
Right.
final report right there that would include that. So that's why I'm just gonna say that's part of inclusive.
Well, in this particular case, the idea, and I'm assuming that this is where they were coming from, is prior to planting, the supervising scientist performs the inspection and then provides written confirmation. So the idea being that he says, yep, I signed off on it and everything's great, now we're going to plant.
It's the grading interim report, more or less.
So why don't we call that, instead of interim report 2, we'll call it the grading interim report.
Okay.
15.
Wetland 15, the supervising scientist should inspect the planting stock to ensure that it complies with the approved replication plan. The specimens are healthy, free from pests, and suitable for use within the mitigation area. Replication of vegetation shall be in kind, i.e. generally similar to the area lost in terms of species composition and cover and structure of dominant species, unless modified by the commission.
I was going to say, so let me hold you there. We have a plan approved, and don't we have a planting list?
Maybe.
There is a planting schedule in the plans, correct?
Yeah.
Right. So I don't have any problem leaving this here with the idea that you have a planting schedule and that satisfies this.
Okay.
Because a better way to do it would be for us to say, it's not that it's chosen on the day of when he goes to do it, it's based on the planting schedule that was agreed to and approved during the hearings.
Are you suggesting a strike?
No, I'm saying it's just fine the way it is, but I'm just saying that the idea is that it's met by the fact that you have a planting schedule.
Okay. Okay. So then, with the rest of it,
Substitutions, species and size.
yeah, I mean, this is, I think at the discretion of the supervising scientist for the rest of this.
Construction, behalf, plant materials planted on day of delivery, planting operations during the recess. Right. Okay.
I mean, really, the whole wetland replication section is guidance for someone who isn't the supervising scientist, so that if you've got somebody on site who might think for themselves by accident, they've got something to look at. But really,
I guess we're in luck. So, because we're not going to have that situation.
No, we're gonna have a
Okay.
a science mommy, and we like the wetland replication. Could have been this guy gets to do everything,
Okay.
but that would have been too.
I don't think there's anything wrong with anything A through I under there that's not what you're going to want to do anyway.
Yeah, we already said October 15th, so.
Right.
Okay, good.
Well, this basically states
Yeah.
that if something went terribly wrong and you were working into April, now there's a date, and then we'd have to come back and talk about why it was October 15th and it couldn't be.
That's fine.
Wetland 16, plantings to be clustered and spaced randomly at direction of the supervising scientist. Fine. Wetland 17, within 30 calendar days following planting of the replication area, the supervising scientist will certify in writing to the Conservation Commission that the area has been constructed in compliance with the reference permits, record drawings, and this order of conditions. Such certification will be accompanied by a written post-construction report and an as-built plan signed and stamped by a registered professional land surveyor. The as-built will depict the limits of the replication area and final grades. The report will include at a minimum representative site photographs depicting the site after it has been planted, relevant field notes and inspection reports, a discussion of hydrologic conditions, number and types of plants installed in the replication area, and receipts from the plant nursery.
Oy.
So this is just all in a big document. And E, a manufacturer's certificate of compliance to the specifications for any seed mix used for both the replication area and any upland side slopes for every shipment of seed. The certificate should include the guaranteed percentages of purity, wheat content, germination of seed, and also the net weight and date shipped. F, the discussion of any field modification deemed necessary by the supervising scientist to obtain the desired hydrology and wetland ecosystem.
So is this manufactured certificate just
The way I would do it is
Labeling
the
that's on the
label
bag.
that comes on the bag, I'd take a picture of it.
that's what I'm thinking, okay.
Okay. I'm crossing off the receipts from the plant nursery. The number of types of plants should simply be the schedule that you received unless you exceed it. I think the other information in here, other than, I'm uncomfortable when it says a discussion of hydrologic conditions, because I don't know what that means. That's not, that's
Yeah, that
subjective.
has more to do with stream building than beaver pond building.
Well, it's just subjective. What's a discussion of, you know, it was a warm summer's night. You know, I don't know what that is.
What it means is that if we were constructing, you know, like the Riley Jane space is going to be more of a stream, and so in the replication area, what kind of hydrology you're going to have? Is it how much is going to be overland flow and how much is going to be underground? And you know, the way that you construct your
But shouldn't that all be identified up front as part of the design process, not part of the look what we did process?
right, but that's the lesson coming from that pair is that, you know, it's like the realtors and the lawyers and just dropping balls. Like, just because it says so on the plan doesn't mean that's what's going to happen.
Do you have any further comments on 17?
Just to ask, is wetland 17 essentially the post-construction report back on wetland 6?
I was just going to say, so we're melding some of the different pieces. So yes, this is the post-construction report because as it says, following the planting. This is the completion report.
Okay, great.
When you were reading it, I was trying to go back and find it there. There it is, 6.
6.
So this is 6C.
Wetland 18. At least 75% of the surface area of the replication area should be established with native wetland plant species within 2 growing seasons after all planting is complete. A, after the first growing season and again after the second, the contractor shall replace any plants that have died with a plant approved by the supervising scientist. Failure to do so would be grounds for the denial of certificate of compliance. So this is carrying 2 years? That's what this is saying, yes? No certificate of compliance for 2 years.
Right, the normal wetland replication follow-up period is 2 years.
Some growing season.
Yeah, and the problem that has been found is that 2 years isn't enough. You can do a good job and like get it pretty. It's a bit like parent week in college. You know, they pretty it all up and then they walk away from it. And, you know, the flowers all die, and you know, they wait until next spring break. And so, inserting those pieces where the COC could be denied, or the contractor needs to get it up to a certain standard before the COC is issued, is the way to say, all right, you failed after 2 years, you failed after 3, you failed 4, you failed 5, you're still going. You know, we're not letting you off the hook just because the 2-year monitoring or the 2-season monitoring period is over.
Well, that suggests that effectively that it's a forever project
No, they have to meet the standard that would
at the end of 2 years.
right, or at the end. You know, it's, I think there's language in there that says like every subsequent year, you know, it's checked again. And so the standard, you know, you have a point, and if you didn't meet it, if you didn't meet the standard by point A, you meet the standard by point B. If you don't meet the standard by point B, you meet the standard by point C. If you don't, you know, it's,
I don't know that we have the right to do that.
so that was a recommended.
Well, isn't it that if we have required a certain replication, that work has to be met at some point before we issue a certificate of compliance? But that if it is met at some point, then we issue the certificate,
Right.
and then if it falls apart after that, then
Right,
it's
exactly.
a different matter.
Right, but I don't think the intention is that you wait 2 years and there's dead plants, so now they have to wait another entire year.
No, it's not one dead plant. It's, what is it, 75%? The, the point is that usually.
No, I get what the point is. I just don't know how it affects jurisdictionally.
Well, it just means that usually the 2 growing season monitoring report, it just sort of stops there. The replication will be monitored for 2 growing seasons. Ta-da, you're done.
Right.
But monitoring for growing seasons doesn't mean ensuring success.
So you're talking about wetland 19.
No. Well,
No?
that's when, yes, he's bringing wetland 19 into it, which states the replication area will be monitored on an ongoing basis for 2 growing seasons or longer if required by permit conditions by the supervising scientist. Written replication monitoring reports should be submitted to the Conservation Commission April 15th and October 15th of each year, in addition to a final report required prior to the issuance of a certificate of compliance.
Okay, so before we go any farther, okay. So my concern is overstepping our bounds. Do you have any knowledge of an ability to continue for an extra growing season if the criteria isn't met at the end of the second one?
I've never seen it. The permit's only good for 3 years. So
Right.
You have to,
So the, if you want to, I can put you in touch with the guys that wrote this. But
Oh, no, I'm not debating
Oh.
debating the validity of the argument. I'm just saying that if you don't publish it first, and if we don't
the regulation versus condition thing.
right, if we
Yeah.
don't establish that this is something that we're looking for before we do it.
Mm.
So for instance, the applicant could have chosen to have no wetland replication and change their project because they didn't want to be stuck with an onerous requirement. And in this particular case, I'm concerned that the requirement doesn't fit under our jurisdiction. I don't know that we have the right to say, still not at 75%, see you next year.
Yeah.
I don't think that's, first off, I don't think it's appropriate, but second of all, if at the end of 2 years, the supervising scientist showed up and went to go write his report and say, yep, my 2 growing seasons are over, and there were 5 dead plants and he replaced the 5 dead plants, then he would have met his criteria.
I think you lost me somewhere.
So, in order to get a certificate of compliance, there's a
Right.
2-year growing season,
Right.
right? And so if at the end of the 2-year growing season, it was validated that even if it was validated that 50% of the plants had survived,
Right.
and they went in and they replaced 25 or, would replace whatever the percentage of plants were, and then we said, yep, so everything pretty much, and you replaced the plants that passed away, great. That generally would be my anticipation for as good as it gets.
So this was discussed a bit at that event, and the point of it was that if you do a poor planting job and your plants die multiple years in a row, it's because you're planting inappropriately and you're not replicating in a wetland. Either your soil hydrology is off or your plant choice is off, and so that's a failure of replication. And you don't want to be left as the commission having given a COC to a failed replication.
So that makes sense. What also makes sense is that people go to the nursery all the time and buy plants that die.
Right.
What also makes sense is that this entire area is in shade, the entire area that we're going to be working in. And what I would say is that to create a standard like this without notice is inappropriate. So what I would say is that the automatic standard is the 2-year growing season. So it makes sense to say that at least 75% of the surface area of replication must be established, within 2 growing seasons. That's pretty fair. That's saying that less than 100% has to be perfect at the end of 2 growing seasons. That's what you're saying.
Right.
After that, this is, replace plants. Well, that would be the kind of thing that would happen at that point. So, and the presence of any invasive species in the area is grounds for denial of a certificate of compliance. I don't know that that's appropriate.
Well, so again, the point simply, as presented, was that it is within, our ability to ensure the replication succeeds. And part of the replication succeeding is that when the COC is issued, the native community that has been established has a fighting chance, and that you're not giving a certificate for, you know, essentially a weed bed that won't ecologically add anything. And I'm not saying that the replication we're taking, you know, the area to be replicated is some Garden of Eden, but you don't want to create a new negative ecological space.
Couldn't we just simply say invasive species in the replication area should be removed?
Right, and that's the thing, like if you just pull them out, well, they're not there, and then you get the COC. And
So
so,
why don't we say that instead of, it's much less onerous.
May I say something?
Please do.
Brian, I'm 73, and I've looked over that land for at least 60 years. And there are invasive plants there now, because that land has been cleared, recleared, and repopulated by itself, and nobody planted them. Nature just had a way of seeding those things. And if you take a look at a lot of this property around here now, especially around wetlands and everything else, just by the way nature works, things change. You don't necessarily see the same plants there all the time.
I think the complication.
My wife was complaining about rose bushes we planted 5 years ago or 6 years ago, but they're not looking too good this year. Well, something has changed. We didn't change anything.
I think the biggest thing is that we can. I have no problem revisiting these ideas. I just absolutely don't want to overstep our bounds as far as a 2-year limit. I know that, certainly to Bill's point, that if the invasive species come in, they're going to come in. I agree that they can be plucked, but I guess I'm very concerned about stating categorically that that's the end of a certificate of compliance, because there are invasives there. I don't know how you would prevent any invasives from getting there in the first place.
You would just prevent them from existing at the point when the COC is issued. So, you know, when your replication is complete and it is as good a job as you can make it, and then you issue the COC, and then nature happens. And if there's going to be invasives, they're going to be there. But you don't issue a COC on a reconstructed ecology that is already, you know, not quite right.
All right.
So, like, I know what you mean about overstepping and about the regulation versus, you know, conditioning thing. And, you know, I've bumped into that from the folks whose inspiration I'm drawing upon. So, you know, that is certainly recognized. It's just a question of, you know, how do you ensure that after 2 years you've got a, you know, a safety valve of some sort to ensure that you've got your replicated wetland.
So, with all that in mind, I would say at least 75% of the surface area of the replication area should be established with native species within 2 years. And then invasive species to be removed. Invasive species to be removed prior to the issuance of any certificate of compliance.
Ordinary herbaceous plants indigenous to the region are invasive plants. Really, if you look at Felice's botanical guide.
I would then, I'm going to cross A for future discussion. I'm going to cross A, C, D, E is as stated, as already stated after C1, certificate, yes, so it's already stated, cross E.
That was something I think I put in response to Nick, the circular logic back to a precondition.
Yeah, I'm happy with the precondition being stated. So 18, 2 growing seasons, 75% remove invasive species in the wetland, in the replication wetland. 19.
Wetland 19 talks about the reporting on that in the interim during the 2 years of growing. The replication area will be monitored on an ongoing basis for 2 growing seasons, maybe not, or longer if required by permit conditions, by the supervising scientist. Written replication monitoring reports should be submitted to the Commission April 15th and October 15th of each year, in addition to a final report required prior to the issuance of a certificate of compliance.
I just read through them there. It's a report. It's not a big deal.
It's a report. So
You good with it?
It's just, to be consistent with what you were just talking about, it says, or longer is required by permit conditions, in parentheses in the first sentence. If it's not something that will be required by the commission, then that should be struck.
It's nice. You just cross right out what's in the parentheses.
Okay. Project-specific conditions, Project 1. Beaver Pond, upstream of the culvert installation site will have a lowered water level. Beaver Pond, upstream of the culvert installation site, which will have a lowered water level, shall be seeded, planted, and live staked with native plants to promote the growth of a vital and functional wetland. A, due to the dynamic nature of the water level in this area, a full wetland restoration and replication is not being required. I, should the applicant adequately address the need to establish a semblance of native wetland plants, no invasive species management plan will be required of the applicant.
All right. So
we were talking in the field about this, and the idea is that we're going to drop the beaver dam.
right?
We're going to drop the beaver pond. We're going to have exposed soils.
And I thought we talked about using that seed mix for this area.
Right. Right. And so the expectation is that the water level will probably go back up because of that. If a beaver put a dam there once already, it'll do it again. And so some of the exposed soils will be re-submerged. And so the idea is that, to seed, to prevent invasives from coming in, and to live stake along what the expected height of the new beaver dam will be, because DPW is going to have a minimum that we're going to have the beaver deceiver at a certain height, and that beaver deceiver should be matched along the bank by riparian woody vegetation. And that was what I recall talking with Kyle about in the field and how that planned out, and that was how I tried to express it in writing.
I recall us talking about the lowered pond elevation exposing potentially submerged seeds that would then grow, and so putting a seed mixture along that area would give because it may not be wetland area, it may not naturally be wetland area, it may be an upland area, which is why we gave a couple of different seed mixes. One is a moist upland wet seed mix, or upland seed mix, and then there is a wetland seed mix. So there's no requirement on this project to do a planting plan for those areas.
It feels like what we're saying is you don't need these things. So I'm unclear on the necessity of the language.
Well, right. So the goal, the conversation in the field was, are we responsible for an invasive management plan here? Are we responsible for maintaining the exposed land? And I said no, because it's going to be a dynamic system. That would be a bit on the ridiculous side of things. And in the end, it's not their land. It's not related to the project. It's going to have much more to do with DPW and the management they have over those manhole covers. But it's because of them that the water will be moved. And so it's going to be because of them that any potential negative ecological impacts would happen on that shoreline. And so, again, based on...
what are the negative ecological impacts we're talking about?
A bunch of loose strife and buckthorns, honey.
Sure.
Just basically that. And then you establish a just a big, thick, fat, nasty section of invasives, because they're going to be the first things to go. So you throw down some seed of some sort, and you give something else a fighting chance, hopefully, to at least battle on even ground with the invasives.
So I think that's what we're saying.
Right, that's what I'm trying, and then I'm removing any obligation on their part, should they make a good effort at the first go. But if like you just kind of blow it off, it's like, all right guys, you blew it off, come back, finish the job you said you were going to do.
It's a very subjective term.
Yeah,
blow it
that's-
off.
that's-
I don't know
Well,
what
I
that
mean,
means.
it's not the language in there, but
I mean, is this a matter of reporting and saying that there was X pounds of seed per
Yeah,
acre?
no, so we're on the, so the hard part about that is if you say this is what the standard is and you are to go in and do this, and they go in and they do that, and particularly if they come in and they say, hey, can you come take a look, we've seeded it and we're keeping it watered, etc., and the purple loosestrife grows anyway,
right,
then the purple loosestrife is going to grow anyway.
right.
And that's where the hard part comes in. It's just too wide open to put on them to maintain that area. So the best thing to do is to state that the beaver pond upstream of the culvert installation will have a lowered water level, which shall be seeded, because we didn't talk about plantings. Said just it would be seeded with the
We did talk
prescribed
about live
seed.
stakes in the field though.
Say again?
In the field, we did talk about live stakes.
Okay. Should be seeded, planted, and live staked with native plants to promote the growth of a vital and functional wetland. And at that point, I would take everything from A, B, and C, and I would toss them.
There's also a quantity question about
Well, right, and that's
planted in live state, which, there's no quantity given to that.
Well, and again, so my first problem is it wasn't discussed or listed out on the drawings that we approved.
right. Like I said, the only reason I'm bringing that in is because of my chat in the field with Kyle, where he was asking if there was going to be a responsibility on their part for managing that land. And the reasons I can say
No.
right, and the reason I can say no is because, they are going to be the cause of that opening up. And so it's, if they created the problem, let's just say
Actually, we're
something-
not the cause of that. That'll be the beaver dam removal.
Right,
Okay.
but that removal is directly linked to this. And,
Well, that's where,
Separate
that's
matter.
actually,
well, right, and the DPW would be the long-term managers theoretically of that space because of
Okay.
that.
okay,
But
so,
DPW wouldn't be doing this at this point without this project.
well, actually, so hold on. That actually is sticky logic because the DPW needed to do this 5 years ago, one
They
way or
need
the
to do
other.
it longer, yeah.
So I'm comfortable with the fact that we have a plan that says that they're going to seed those areas, and the language right here says project number 1, they'll seed those areas. I don't know what, there's no other way to define this.
Right, and I don't have a plan, as Kyle was saying, because that wasn't part of, this is all, conversation being translated to this.
Sure.
So,
Okay. So
So do we add to make a reasonable effort to promote the growth of a vital and functional wetland?
that
Well, it's
is,
not necessarily wetland. That's the thing, is that this is not, historically, according to the mapping, it's not been a wetland. I mean, yes, it's been land underwater, I suppose. There's been ponded by the beaver dam, but it's not necessarily a wetland, which is why we have several different seed mixes. And it's dynamic. As we know, something's going to change with the beaver activity, and that water level will go up and down. And I recall, Brian, us talking about, maybe there's some other need for some live stakes or whatever. I'm not exactly sure what that is, if that's some sprig, but there's no density stated for that. So I don't know how we would
right, because,
establish that quantity, that density, and so on.
Takashi,
No, just,
you're aching to say something.
yeah, just need to be clear about what is discussed in a public hearing and what's discussed out in the field, which is not a public hearing. It's informational only. So, I guess I'm a little uncomfortable with translating a discussion in the field into a condition that we didn't talk about in the public hearing.
yeah, that's fair.
Okay. So to that end, I'm comfortable that the area with the lowered water level will be seeded to promote the growth of a vital and functional wetland. if we want to change that to a vital and functional dynamic space that may or may not be wetland, we can say that, but it seems tricky.
It'll be seeded for sure.
So, in fact, maybe the right thing to do is to say shall be seeded with the approved mix.
How about appropriate mix?
Appropriate mix.
Can we get the scientists involved?
We can absolutely, now you've done it, shall be seeded with a mix approved. And was it King shirt? Do we have a color? Approved by, the supervising scientist. Doesn't get any better than that.
Project 2, a geomorphologist approved by the Conservation Commission will be present on site for the full duration of work related to the construction of the stream within and adjacent to the newly installed culvert.
So before we say another word, I don't remember this coming up ever.
This was, again, this is another field conversation, and this was, help me out here, Kyle.
Tim?
Thank you. This was a suggestion from Tim, and his statement was to the fact that you need somebody there on site when this goes in, because once you start moving on all the rocks and all the soil, and you start contouring, you can't undo those mistakes.
You're talking about this, you mean culvert?
Well, the stream within the culvert.
Within the culvert.
Yeah. And so it's like you need to have somebody there babysitting this who's not just, you know, a scientist or a geologist. You know, you need a real specific kind of person involved in this.
So, one of the complications there is, it wasn't discussed at any point during the hearings, and it wasn't introduced at any point during the hearings, or in our toolkit that says, if you happen to do a stream project, you have to hire a geomorphologist. So, I'm uncomfortable creating a condition after the fact. When we were on site and when we were doing work, we said that the work would be supervised by engineers from GPR. I wasn't uncomfortable with it at the time. I'm not uncomfortable with it now. But I understand the idea of future projects, including that term geomorphologist, and getting into a discussion about it then, but I don't think we can introduce it now. So keep it in our back pocket for future discussions, but I think we have to cross project 2.
I don't think we're gonna have too many more geomorphologist situations.
As soon as we've had one, they're just gonna come flooding in. Flooding in. So cross project 2.
To increase your comfort level with that, Kyle has had conversations with geomorphologists about how that gets contoured under the culvert and the benches and all the rest of it. And I think that's.
And I think what you're leaning towards is what Tim was talking about in the field, and he's probably the individual you have in mind with Part A of former Project 2, which was a stream continuity specialist from the Division of Ecological Restoration.
I mean, they could always hire another one.
So it's already gone.
Thank you. Perpetual conditions. From ADM 7, quote, potential violations of perpetual conditions shall not grant the commission or its agents passage over private property in any way inconsistent with the commission's enforcement policy. I don't know how this might tie into the attorney's comments as far as the perpetual conditions already being conditions. Maybe they're listed as perpetual in those earlier conditions.
I mean, I don't see the need to repeat that here where we've covered it under 7 and where we're not going to put each of these specifically in D.
Well,
I think
So the
we've
reason
covered it.
that's there is simply so that when somebody flips straight to the perpetuals, you know, there's that reminder. You know, that they don't have to go and.
So I guess my only thought would be that it doesn't do any harm because it merely states that no trespassing will occur.
So then you need to modify it
language.
the way we did before to
Right.
stop it, passage over private property, get rid of the in any way inconsistent with the commission's
Yes.
enforcement policy, which you did earlier.
Done.
Okay. Administrative condition 5 is also a perpetual condition, which is the order of conditions shall apply to any successors, so on and so forth. Okay?
Perfect.
Perpetual 1, No alterations to soil, water bodies, vegetation, both alive and deceased, except as approved by the commission and shown on approved plans, shall be conducted within any wetland resource area, wetland buffer area, or riverfront area. And I'll skip that this condition shall extend beyond the issuance, so on, for all these.
Seems
Does
like,
that make sense?
I mean, it does, but it seems like it's a statement of
Well, I was just gonna say, so what,
obvious.
so let's see, so
Yeah,
the first
there's a-
one
there's
is,
a lot of those in there.
so the first one is don't work in the resource or the buffer. The second one is vehicles or equipment shouldn't enter the resource area or the buffer unless approved. Runoff resulting from washing of vehicles shall not be discharged or directed into the resource area. Equipment filling storage shall be situated upland, not in the resource area. Pumps, generators, so,
Most of those conditions have already been stated for the construction. And then this is just, so many of those same ideas, you know, extended beyond. And most of them are carried over from the Riley Jane stuff and just regular boilerplate that in all likelihood will have no impact in any real and meaningful sense. Because it could be a bridge that people drive over.
I guess where you've got conditions stated in the Wetland Protection Act that say you can't do these things.
right, this.
I don't feel the need to repeat all of them here, and it feels like that's what this is.
I'm coming to the same conclusion, and so if the idea is to put this in front of a person who wouldn't have read the Wetland Protection Act, I guess I get the point of it, but at the same time, I'm not entirely sure. I guess I don't know what benefit is served. Don't we get some of these up in the front?
Yeah.
There's certain ones that
These
you-
are all in the front for construction.
Yeah, there's certain things like no organic fertilizer and pesticides, you usually
Yeah,
see
we're
that.
not gonna-
That's a pretty typical
Yeah.
perpetual condition.
But nobody's gonna use those anyway because there's not gonna be any like lawn maintained. And so really it's just in the strangest possible situation where maybe somebody comes in to maintain the road because you've got, you know, something growing up over the road and they start spraying something gross. You know, but that'll be 15 years down the line.
Well, so let's step back for a second. So, I don't know that stating these at the end of our order makes a difference one way or the other. I don't know if folks have a different opinion. Do you have any thoughts?
No.
I tend to agree with what you and Cal said, that the intent of these professional conditions
There's safety valves.
isn't to rehash the regulations. It's,
I guess that's my concern, is their statements of the regulation or their statements of, I don't know that they're efficacious at the back of an order of conditions. That's all.
And most of them really don't apply to this
Yeah.
project.
I mean, there might be one in there that really applies, but in the various editing processes, you know, because I drew most of this off of Riley Jane, and this would apply, you know, if you've got homeowners and, you know, you've got them looking at their deed and you want to keep them informed. That's one thing, but we're dealing with a bridge.
Well, and then we're also back to the idea of if you think the homeowner is reading this.
Right. We're going in circles again, but
Okay.
yeah.
I'm comfortable dropping the perpetual conditions for discussion at a later time and coming up with some reason why they would apply or why they'd make sense. I'd almost rather that every other year we mail a handbook to everybody in town who lives in a place where they could screw up a wetland, because it's going to be a lot more effective than this.
And I just ordered, 500 of those?
There you are. So that's 2 years worth. Okay. Unless someone has a convincing reason to keep the perpetual conditions, they're out.
So 1 through 10.
Yes. And 10 continues on to page 17. Okay. So here's what I have. I have a lot of notes that I took. I'm assuming that you took the same notes. Okay? So what I'm going to recommend is that I'm going to hand these to Brian, who I'll say with no small discontent didn't take notes. I'm going to hand these to Brian because he can then go and type these up, and you guys can pass them back and forth and make sure that the spirit was met.
Gotcha.
Go from there.
Yep.
Okay. Are you comfortable based on the fact that we still have to type these up and submit the back and forth that we would sign tonight?
Yes.
Does anybody have any problem with that based on the discussion? And it was on camera.
No.
We were hoping it would.
Say that again?
Do you have any issue signing off tonight with the idea that the spirit and the information is captured, it just needs to be typed?
Speaking hypothetically,
Sure.
if I were going to vote in the affirmative and then sign, I wouldn't have an issue. I think I still have an issue with, as you know, I was not in favor of voting at the last meeting to issue the order
I do recall that.
without having certain information, which we just got.
Well, then let me ask you a different question. Do you have a problem voting on an order where the idea is that the language has been covered, but it merely needs to be typed up in order to be documented?
No.
Okay. Well, then that solves the question. Okay. Then in that case, is there anything further from the applicant?
No.
Anyone on the commission have any further words?
So I took a quick look at wetland data sheets, and I appreciate you, providing, the letter and the data sheets. In my opinion, when you come forward with either an initial application or in this case a change which significantly impacts the viability of the project, and in this case it's not so much a redesign of the scope of the project, but a assessment of the wetlands, which is fine. I think the evidence submitted should be compelling or overwhelming, or it should meet some sort of standard. And there's a narrative about why Mr. Crossman made some changes, but when I looked at the data sheet for the area in particular that was revised, I didn't see any soil data at all, which I'm not really comfortable with. And I just looked at it, so
I think he didn't give any soil data because he explained that he was doing it by vegetation, based on the fact that he found the soil data unreliable.
But he didn't provide that data.
I think he addressed it in the narrative. I don't.
In every other
And
law, he has his soil, 0 to 6 inches. This is what he found. He doesn't have any of that in that spot. It just,
And I think it's just because he decided to do it based on vegetation.
which I have a problem.
So to be clear, your issue is
I think it's D, plot D.
D is the
transect D.
Yeah.
Yep, it's all plot 1. Right, it's interesting that you say that, because that's the first thing I noticed was blank.
Yeah, completely blank. And that's kind of at the root of whether we could approve it or not, in my opinion, is that particular location. And to not have any
I guess
data at all.
I found the narrative compelling because basically what he was saying is it's a gravel soil, which means it's filled for the roadway.
Yeah, but there are, under the DEP regulations, which in this case defer to the Corps of Engineers standards for evaluating wetlands in areas that have been filled, there are standards for doing that, and you still have to provide your data. If you dug 20 inches and found 20 inches of fill, that provides a compelling case that there's no hydric soils, but he doesn't have that.
I guess
And so it's
my only thought is he addressed exactly that in the narrative. He didn't provide you with that data. I understand that.
I need to see the data, and I don't see it. I mean, if he had said I dug down as far as I could go with my shovel or my auger, and this is what I found, that would be one thing. That would be at least something. But it's a blank, and so it's.
Well, I
it's a
think
blank.
the reason it's blank is, and I know you said you're uncomfortable with it, but I think he made the determination that he was going to go based strictly on vegetation because he found the soil's unreliable, so if he found it unreliable, he didn't want to report it
Well-
because he didn't trust it.
But show me why they're unreliable. Don't show me a blank.
So
I guess is my.
no, I hear both of your points. Because, so what he says in here, and so he says, in conclusion, we believe current soil conditions are not indicative of the natural soils that would have been present if the beavers had not changed the hydrology.
But he didn't tell me what the current soil
I
conditions are.
I understand. I understand.
In data.
It's just how you do it. I mean,
Okay. Do you have any other thoughts?
that's it.
Okay. So at this point, I feel like we've covered this rather exhaustively. We are at a point where our notes are clear. We're at the point where it just needs to be typed up. And so we've already agreed on the order of conditions. We have now completed the order of conditions. And unless there's anything further, I would accept a motion to close this public hearing for DEP file number 100-0388.
So moved.
Second for discussion. Does Mr. Crossman have some data that he can provide?
I assume he does. I know he did the soils.
Yeah, I mean,
Explain it.
that's what I asked for previously, and that.
I mean, I can have him amend that and provide that data to you. Would you feel better if we do that?
It just strikes me as a glaring omission if that's kind of the basis for your reevaluation of the
Well, he took
conditions of the
me
site.
through a very detailed explanation of what he did and how he did it.
And
So I'm sure he's got that data, and if you want me to have him amend that data sheet to provide that to you, I'm sure he can do that.
yeah, and I
So-
will continue to say what I said before. I can't, approve a project where there's glaring omission and the fundamental basis for evaluating whether it's approvable or not.
No, I understand and respect where you're coming from, and I'm also happy that we're at a point where we'll reach out to Mr. Crossman and get that data. He's not going away from the project, obviously, he's going to be involved in it in the future, so. With that in mind, any further discussion?
That's it.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any abstentions? Any nays?
Abstain or nay, one of the two. I mean, I'm sort of persuaded by Takashi's argument. I'd like to have that. I'd like him to be satisfied with that before we close it.
And just to be clear, I think there's a
Yeah.
glaring omission in the information that we're supposed to review, and the purpose of the public hearing is to gather the information, so I wouldn't want to close it just on the basis that we're still waiting for a piece of information.
Well, that causes us a great deal of heartache.
Which I understand, but our jurisdiction isn't the applicant's timeline. I mean, that's,
I understand
our
that.
jurisdiction is based on.
I understand that, but I
yeah.
think what we're talking about is a technicality that can be resolved very easily.
Maybe, I mean, until I see the data, I can't tell you one way or the other.
All right, so,
I mean, because if he says he dug down 6 inches, found fill, I mean, that doesn't meet the,
He did, he went down the full depth.
so
And
So put that
I
in
guess
the
I'm
data sheet.
asking you to take it upon faith that we're gonna give you that information
okay.
and it will be satisfactory. And if it's not, then he'll go back out and do it again, but I'm sure he's done it because he talked to me in great detail about it.
Yeah, but see, if it's not satisfactory, we've just issued potentially a decision based on the
But
belief that it is satisfactory. I guess that's.
this is what it looked like in 1965. It's a gravel road.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about.
Now, we're talking about reviewing a project based on a representation of existing conditions, which you initially brought forward as being wetland, and then you said, no, it's not a wetland. And I'm saying, prove it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all.
And I'm
That's all I'm
quite sure
asking.
we can do that.
With
I mean, that's
compelling, overwhelming evidence,
I
which
mean,
I
that's
haven't seen.
photographic evidence of
Yeah.
right where we were
That-
taking our data from.
Thing is, I think, I'm slanted toward Takashi is that it's been sort of pulling teeth on some information, because the very first hearing, Takashi brought up stream crossing standards, and response was initially, it's not a stream. And so it's taken a while to get a lot of the information. It's
Well,
really
I
a
thought,
process.
I thought quite honestly that we provided all the information that had been requested. And I understand that Takashi's unhappy because he didn't provide soils information, but I thought he addressed it in his letter, and he thought he addressed it adequately in his letter.
I don't agree with it, but
So where we're at, and this is where, because of the way that we've typically operated, I'm actually at a loss at 20 minutes of 11 at night. So we are 2 for and 2 against. So we don't have a tiebreaker.
In the Supreme Court. Give me an argument of moving forward.
So
On the on the fence.
I guess so first off, I don't even know how that works since we already had a vote.
Move to reconsider.
Starting from scratch, the issue was that as the project went along, we learned things that we didn't know about stream crossings, etc. And one of those things that came up, and luckily we had a wealth of information in Ms. Sudemeyer, one of those things that came up was the 5,000 square foot area. As what Takashi is concerned about is that basically the entire argument over whether this is enough or this isn't enough is based on that 5,000 square foot area. What he's also concerned about is that whether there's 2 feet of gravel or 3 inches of gravel, Mr. Crossman didn't write it down. And all he had to do was write it down. He does note that he was uncomfortable because of what the data presented, but he didn't write it down. And that's what Takashi is concerned about. So what Takashi is then saying is that you're at this precipice, and if, in fact, the data comes back and Takashi's uncomfortable with it, then he's just approved something he was uncomfortable with. And if the data comes back and Takashi's not uncomfortable with it, then great, but why didn't I get that data in the first place?
So I have one other thing to offer. When we did this, we were trying everything we could to get below the 5,000 square feet of wetland filling.
Certainly.
And we made some errors in calculations in that we included everything from the wetland line in as wetlands, even though a good piece of it was land underwater, not wetlands.
it's still, well, that's still a defined resource area, so.
It's a defined resource area, but it's not wetlands.
No,
Some of that land
no, it is
underwater.
a defined wetland resource area under the regulation.
So start over. So the beavers flood the area.
Yeah, so under the Wetlands Protection Act, there are specific defined wetland resource areas, of which land underwater is one.
Okay.
We always thought it was a resource area. We didn't think it was a wetland. We thought it was a resource area.
It's not, it may not be a bordering vegetated
Because when
wetland.
it talks about wetland
but-
filling, it talks about wetlands. It doesn't talk about all resource areas. It talks about wetlands.
Well,
Here's what I have to offer anyways.
We may be,
Look,
quibbling,
yeah,
we may be quibbling over it's a bridge or it's a bridge.
Right. The point I was going to make is we are now well under 5,000 square feet
And
of
you,
wetland
and you
filling.
typically get there by redesigning the scope of your project, not by shrinking the wetlands. And I'm not suggesting anything. All I'm saying is, I just want to see.
I understand,
Yeah,
but
that's-
here's the worst that happens. The worst that happens is you don't like it, you don't agree with the wetland delineation, and now we've got 4,500 square feet of wetlands.
Well, there's nothing to like or not like because
which
it
we're
hasn't been
providing the replication for already. So
So,
we didn't reduce our replication area because we reduced our wetland filling number, is what I'm saying.
do you have the full-size plan with you?
So the worst that happens is if this thing shrinks down, we've still got the replication to cover, is what I'm saying.
And that is, I'm only arguing one point, and that is,
So I don't think
you
there's any
haven't
risk.
provided the,
So I want to start from I'm just going to walk backwards a little bit. Because I believe we're all saying very similar things, but I see both sides. So I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page before we go any farther. So What we're talking about is the small area, and I wish I had a highlighter with me so that I could identify it. What we're talking about is that area there that Mr. Crossman redesignated based upon his walk. Now there's something to put in the regulations is orange highlighters. The yellow ones are terrible to see at a distance. But the point is that that area that's over there, is the spot that we're talking about, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So that's much. Thank you very much. It's around the outside. You just couldn't see. That's perfect. Okay. So, not that I am dismissing what your question is, but the next question would be if that area was in fact, or did in fact remain as a wetland, how does that affect the total overall project? So,
Actually, the area just within this.
was it that?
Oh, no.
We were going out to that.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So, and if I remember correctly, you did also shift the road and the culvert, correct?
That's correct.
Moved everything to the side. Okay.
Which also got us less area. So was it redesigning in regard?
We're trying to hit, there's a point in the wetlands that are. So we aim the road at that point to try to get further out.
Sure. Okay. So, let's say that this area, which is the basis of the contention, let's say that this area, that Mr. Crossman had never visited it, what would the number be of the disturbance?
I just don't have that number in my back pocket. I believe it's around 1,000 square feet, but I don't recall exactly what that number is.
Sure. Well, let's put it this way. If that area was deemed to be part of the resource or private resource, would it push you over the 5,000 square feet?
No, so we'd be around 3,700.
Okay. So 3,700, not 4,700, not 4,950, 3,700.
That's my belief based on that.
Of BVW.
Okay. Does that influence your thinking in any way as far as whether Mr. Crossman's report says one thing or the other? We're at 37, not the 5,000. Because I share your concern. If we were at 4,900, then there's no question it needs to be documented and figured out.
And
If
we'll
we're-
document it either way.
If we're at 3,700, I'm just not worried about being close. If the standard, and again, it's not like at 4,999 feet we're keeping the universe safe and at 5,001 feet we've destroyed everything.
No,
It's an arbitrary standard of 5,000 square feet, right? You want an arbitrary standard, make it 3,812. It's an arbitrary standard of 5,000 square feet, and if we're not brushing up against it, then we follow the process. And if we're brushing up against it or gone over it, we have a whole different process. So I'm seeing your point, but at 3,700 square feet, which is why I asked the question, I guess I'm just not as concerned.
Mr. Chair. Okay. I will reconsider my vote to a yay with reservations, and that in the future we discuss as policy for applications that we have an exhaustive presentation of basic data that we state at the very beginning, first hearing, and that.
Well, I'm going to say this out loud because it's important.
Right.
What Takashi is saying is that he asked for data and the data came to him and it's incomplete.
Right.
That's not a question.
Right.
The data is incomplete.
Yeah.
However, in the interest of moving forward on the project, so with the data being incomplete, does that make a huge difference? And in this particular case, if the difference is 3,700 to 5,000,
Yeah.
then it won't make a huge difference. Doesn't change the fact that the data needs to be presented so that Takashi can analyze it and make his own opinion. But in my mind, if we're not brushing up against 5,000 square feet and it's not a game changer,
Yeah.
then it's okay to get it after on the basis of the fact that I think Dave Crossman can provide it. I don't think it's a big enough difference that it holds up the project when it's 3,700 versus 5,000. That's my pragmatic approach.
I'd like to hear Takashi's opinion on an enforcement order or a stop work order or something to that effect. You know, should Jess change her feelings?
I don't understand.
Well, you know, let's just say that, you know, this goes forward and the soil samples come back insufficient. You know, would you then say, you know what, this doesn't count? Bring me some new drawings, you know, and you go through the paperwork process of, you know, stop work, you know, give me what I need, give me enough data, and then we're going to proceed accordingly. You know, with that, you know, your opinion on that might be.
Well, I think by getting the information up front, we don't have to go there.
Agreed.
That's all.
Which I fully expect we'll be able to provide that.
So I'm trying very hard to respect your opinion, and I do see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
But I also don't want to burden them with 2 more weeks, and so I'm
Actually, 3 more weeks.
with 3 more weeks, so I'm stuck. Because I also recognize that this project has been carried out by the town in the past with a backhoe without any regard for any of the things we're discussing right now. Because remember when when Dave came to us, Mr. Bertha came to us and showed us the pictures when the town dug out the beaver dam and completely drained that wetland entirely.
Yeah, we have to give them permission to do that.
We certainly didn't.
And
What I'm suggesting.
and if they had, I would have asked for wetland data sheets.
What I'm suggesting is
it's a
this.
requirement.
No, I'm not debating any of it. I'm suggesting that it's happened in the past, that this area has been changed in the past, and that this information, if it comes from Mr. Crossman afterwards, I'm just not as concerned about it because we're just not right at that standard. Again, the arbitrary standard. So, with that said, I would be willing to call a second vote and let things go from there. So, is there a Robert's Rule of Orders to call a second vote?
Somebody who voted for it first has to make a move to reconsider, which could be either of you two.
Or it has to be on the favoring side. So that would be you.
Okay, move to reconsider.
Second.
Okay. So in the matter of DEP file number 100-0388, I would accept a motion to issue the order of conditions and close the public hearing.
So
Second.
All in favor say aye.
I
Aye.
I'll go aye.
We'll go aye.
I'll go aye. Grumbling, but yes.
Abstentions? Oppose. Thank you. So at this point, the motion passes. We will issue the order of conditions with the expectation that you will hash out any final details with Brian based upon the notes from this evening.
Yep.
And that you will provide the information for Mr. Crossman for the files, specifically to Takashi so he can review it, that notes the soil samples that were taken, etc. Would you please, as part of that application, include a note, a memo that states what the overall areas of disturbance are with and without the parcel that's in question, or that changed, if we will. It's not saying question. The parcel that changed, that area, could you please just include those square footages? Does that work? Okay, I'm looking to satisfy your interest as well as the qualifications. Okay, well then, with that in mind, we look forward to the exchange of information, and we're done with your public hearing.